Yeah, their brother. We do have, just before we call the clerk, before the clerk calls the roll call, we do have some people in the audience. Please keep your cell phones on silent. We have some public comment. We have a very, very busy agenda tonight, so if everybody could just be cognizant of time. We will probably we'll be here till probably, the way this looks, maybe 11 o'clock, so just be conscious of time, and we look forward to yeah, there's a couple big presentations we'll go through, so we have some time. So, clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes. Here. Condon. Here. Crow. Here. Linehan. Here. McDonald. Here. Murphy. Here. O'Malley. Here. Seeker. Here. Simonelli. Here. Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora here. First order of business.
Would be public comment.
Public comment. Not you, Nate.
So you get those three, and then I have those emails if you're going to
Okay, we have three public comment. First is Christopher. I can't read the last name. Please come up. State your name and address for the record. Thank you. Is it Furt? Fair. Okay. Sorry.
His mic's not on.
Oh.
Good.
Yep.
So to introduce myself, my name is Christopher Fevry, CEO and co-founder of Driss Corporation, also DBA Your Green Package. Your Green Package is one of the largest licensed, is the largest licensed marijuana courier here in Massachusetts. My wife and I, we started the business in 2020. During the pandemic, launched in 2021. We employ about 60 people, 67 actually to date. We actually do courier transports, business-to-business transports. We actually did a drop to Misty Mountain today. And, I'm here to speak. We've been applying for a retail location in Malden since 2020. We've been in the application process. We initially went to our first location that we went to, that we tried to go forward was 93 Broadway. That got rejected due to the proximity. I mean, even though it was next to Malden Catholic, the buffer zone issue was something that came up. So, even though the CLEC really liked our application. I mean, we're majority women and minority owned. I mean, 70% of our staff are people of color. And we're kind of, we've been in the press quite a bit, for our diversity statistics and what we've been doing in the space. That location ultimately did not work due to the zoning arrangements. We then, the CLEC asked us to find a new location.
Sir, I don't want to interrupt, but you just got to make sure you're speaking in reference to something on the document.
Yes, I'm speaking in reference to 512. So
okay.
I am also.
All right.
Yeah.
And I need your address for the record, too.
Oh, yeah. So my address is 179 Central Street, Stoughton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
02072. Yes, Stoughton. Yes. So the CLEC asked us to find a new location. That new location ended up being 53 Broadway. With 53 Broadway, I went to the tenants next door, knocked on doors, and met a lot of the tenants just to speak about what we were doing. Majority of them didn't oppose our establishment, and I did submit the signatures of those tenants for public comments as well. We ended up getting approved by the CLEC for the establishment, but then found out about the variance issue, which is 512-22, which you guys will hopefully discuss tonight. So as a minority-owned business, we're hoping to open in the city of Malden. We have a great track record with the state when it comes to operating cannabis establishments. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. This is one of my first city council meetings. But we've been in the application process for 2 years, and to be honest, it's a lot of people want minority-owned businesses in the city, and they want minority-owned businesses in the state. I would not be standing here today if it wasn't for Steve Paginis. I mean, we're not paying rent on the property, and he's allowing us to go through this process. But without this approval, I mean, this kills the project.
So what paper are you speaking to? Because we do have a 2-minute, and we just got to be cognizant of the other people.
Yes. 512-22.
There is 3. It's not 512.
315. Okay, 315.
Okay. 315.
So I hope that you guys take it up for discussion, at least to bring closure to the issue, and we hope that we are able to do business with the city.
All right. Thank you so much. Chris, Council Simonelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we got to have a little discussion before the meeting started. I've been having some Zoom meetings with the people that live in the condo complex right next door to that location right there. And as I told you, they're not for it, and they have sent out signatures with the people that live inside the facility. And I went by and took a look at the location. That's my neighborhood, and from there. And I got to be honest with you. I think I told you already that.
Are we in public comment?
Yeah, I just have a point of order. I mean, do we have responses to public comment? Usually we just, there's never been any.
All right, Council
So,
Simonelli?
yeah, so I mean.
Fair
I
enough.
would reserve it for the debate.
Thank you, Council.
That was it.
Next up, Matt, is it Matt's? Hold on one second, Matt's. There you go.
I'm Matt Songqvist. I live at 86 Central Ave in Malden, on the eastern side of it. And I'm talking to 315, the same kind of issues here. And I see at Garden Remedy, Melrose, they got their things going very quickly. And you failed. I mean, I don't know what's happening in this city. We don't have an establishment yet. What's going on? You know, why is it taking so long? Thank you so much.
Is it Naomi? Thank you.
I'm Naomi Khan of Ward 6, and I was part of the hearing for Benevolent Botanicals a few months ago, and I know that it was a zoning issue, saying that there was only 60 feet between them and a house, but there's a bike path and 2 fences in between that too. So to me, that doesn't make any sense, and I think it's a really good location. There's, it's a totally commercial area, and like Matt, I see so much business in Melrose, and it's being poured into Melrose and not into Malden. I don't really feel that cannabis is violent or going to bring in a huge issue, especially in comparison to alcohol or something like that. And four cannabis shops seems about right to me. So I just wanted to speak up.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, we do. Next order of business. Oh, we have some written comments.
Jeez. So there are 11. First one, my name is Jackie Ecker, and I live at 58 Lanark Road in 5-2. I'm writing tonight in favor of table paper 315-22. When recreational marijuana was a ballot question in the 2016 state election, Malden residents overwhelmingly voted yes. I was one of those votes. I strongly believe that Malden should benefit from the revenue that cannabis shops bring to their communities. Because Massachusetts residents strongly favor the ability to purchase marijuana legally, shops are springing up all across the state. If it is legal to purchase and use within the city of Malden limits, we should benefit from the revenue base it provides. For example, there's a cannabis shop called Garden Remedies in Melrose, right on the Malden line, which brings revenue to Melrose. However, consumers must drive through Malden to get there. As such, Malden gets the cost of maintaining the roads while getting none of the benefits of revenue from the shop. I'm a parent of a high school student, and I completely understand any concerns there is about allowing children access to cannabis products. However, there are 2 points to counter this. One, recreational marijuana is illegal for use by minors, so a store will not be able to sell products to anyone underage. And 2, putting stores just outside the city limits will not fix the problem. What is needed is better education about drugs, not haphazard zoning laws that allows cannabis products to be sold on the edge of town. In summation, I urge the City Council to please vote yes on paper 315-22 and no on paper 286-22. Dear Honorable City Councils, I'm writing in favor of paper 315-22 and against paper 286-22. I support cannabis applicants in buffer zones receiving a variance. The concept of a variance is to improve what was originally planned, given opportunities that can welcome new possibilities. Reasons for variance can range from supporting small businesses, diverse community, the health and welfare of residents, as well as tax revenue, or all the above. The people of Central Malden in wards 5, 6, and 7 deserve a cannabis shop which is close by. I clearly recall the tough decisions we had originally made around the table. Cannabis was new, somewhat frightening, business that gained traction on the ballot, and the voters spoke. Whether many of you disagree with that election or not, it is not an individual decision. Little did we know this controversy would cloud clear thinking. Each and every one of you have the honor to serve the residents of Malden, as I did for 10 years. You do the tough job of decision-making, problem-solving, and moving this wonderful city of Malden forward every day. The delay of tactics is some of the obvious and certainly not what the majority wants. I urge you, the City Council, please vote yes on paper 315-22 and no on paper 286-22, Debbie D. Maria, 144 Maple Street. My name is Sam Bender, and I live at 36B Henry Street in Malden. I'm writing in favor of table paper 315-22 and against table paper 286-22. Here is yet another letter asking you to reconcile the people of Malden's overwhelming yes request for cannabis dispensaries with the government of Malden draconian zoning restrictions. I understand that this amendment was brought up in April and is still yet to have its day. Please help local entrepreneurs start businesses in our city. Please be on the side of social equity. Please support paper 315-22. My name is Cecil Roth, and I'm the owner-occupant of 11 Commerce Ave in Ward 1, Malden. I have lived in Malden for the past 4 years and hope to stay here for a very long time. I'm writing to you in favor of table paper 315-22 and in opposition to table paper 286-22. The people of Malden want cannabis shops. I guess I could count myself lucky to live in Ward 1, which seems to have the only parcels not mysteriously buffer zoned out of cannabis shops. I and my neighbors are excited to support Misty Mountain's business, a quick walk across the river from once it opens. But I think everyone can agree that we deserve more options in town. What about my friends in Ward 2 through 7, which is most of Malden? The entire buffer zone situation is draconian and unfair. How can anyone start a business this way, blocked out by rules that don't make sense for our community? Paper 315-22 won't just benefit benevolent botanicals. It also benefits other current and future cannabis shops applicants. Many of us have been especially vocal in our support because they will be owned and operated by Maldonians. And if paper 315-22 passes, you can bet we will be supporting the next Maldonians who want to open a shop. I actually found myself walking by the proposed location on Monday morning on a trip to another business. This spot on the far side of a busy road, among other businesses and warehouses, couldn't be better for a cannabis shop. The police station is a block away. It is unreasonably impractical that the location is within a buffer zone. And in fact, the state of Massachusetts prohibits us from making cannabis zoning this hard to deal with. I've already signed on to a petition to get rid of the buffer zones and written in before. I hope that my voice can be heard this time. Please vote yes on paper 315 and no on paper 286. My name is Shay Robin Coleman, a registered voter living at 11 Commerce Ave 2, Malden. I write in favor of table paper 315-22 and against table paper 286. Zoning issues have caused frequent problems for those who also want to operate cannabis dispensaries in Malden and have already been outlined as acting against state law. They have been described charitably as unreasonably impractical, and the various issues that have been raised to find applicable parcels to accommodate the zoning means that it's practically impossible to create an accurate map highlighting parcels where a dispensary can legally operate. State guidance has also noted that the only buffer zones which do not act as an unreasonable barrier to equity are those established around schools. These issues came together to create a legal environment with the most restrictive zoning ordinances impeding access to cannabis of any community that voted yes, a bureaucratic refusal of the voters' will. When the question of cannabis legalization came to the ballot box, Maldonians overwhelmingly voted in favor. However, as a result of these zoning practices, wards 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are zoned out and having their own cannabis dispensaries, substantially limiting Malden's access to cannabis. The rhyme and reason behind the 7 different kinds of buffer zones seems unclear in their purpose, but their effect is that Malden is the most restrictive community where people could potentially open a dispensary. Malden should follow the will of its voters and vote in favor of paper 315 and against paper 286. My name is Joseph Maxwell, and I live at 30 Wheeler Street in Ward 8 of Malden. I'm writing tonight in favor of table paper 315 and against table paper 286. The residents of Malden are overwhelmingly in favor of the sale of retail cannabis. Despite this fact and the amendment being introduced in April, It has been held up for months due to bureaucracy, backroom deals, and unprofessional grudges held by certain councils. This amendment will help multiple applicants, as Malden has the most restrictive cannabis zoning of any ES community. Malden's cannabis zoning is so complicated that the city itself has no accurate map. By state law, this unreasonably impractical zoning is prohibited. I urge the council to listen to your constituents and not to what benefits you personally. Please vote yes on paper 315 and no on paper 286. I am submitting a written testimony because I am unable to testify in person due to scheduling conflict with the National Council of Urban Educational Association National Education Association meeting. Thank you in advance for taking the time to read this and consider what I have written and submitted in favor of table paper 315. Labor leaders and organizers took look at issues through a lens of how actions will have a positive impact on the majority, and I encourage you to look at how passing paper 315 will have a positive impact on the people of Malden through tax revenue, the creation of jobs, and lifting up citizens who are small business owners. Out of 13,000 parcels in Malden that are zoned for cannabis, there are currently only 63 parcels that are not inside a buffer zone. Out of the 63 parcels, not a single one of the properties is on the market and available for purchase. This has been the case for over 4 years now. So many different buffer zones exist in the city of Malden that has been stated on more than several occasions that it is actually not possible to provide an accurate map of where cannabis shops can be located due to the number of buffer zones that exist within the borders of the city. It is impermissible per the state's laws governing cannabis zoning for a city to be unreasonably impractical. Although the state prohibits cities from having unreasonable and impractical cannabis zoning, Malden's current practice regarding cannabis zoning is without a doubt unreasonably impractical. The current zoning regulations of Malden prohibits Malden citizens and small business owners from opening up shops in the city that would benefit citizens and bring in tax revenue that would benefit all the citizens in Malden. It is actually impossible for small business owners to come up for a shop in Malden now. If paper 315 passed, it would fix the situation as long past needed to be fixed via allowing the city council to use their discretion on buffer zones instead of engaging in reprehensible practices like redlining. It is time to pass paper 315 for the good of the small business owners, the good of the financial health of the city, and for the benefit of your constituents. My name is Emily Hamilton. I'm a parent and resident of Ward 6, and I'd like to speak in favor of the proposed amendment. There are a lot of things I worry about as a parent and a person of faith who is also an engaged citizen. I worry about enough affordable housing, safe and speedy public transit, a strong school system. I worry about fair and equitable governance. I do not worry about the proximity of a cannabis to my residence, house of worship, or place of work. Right now, the process for licensing and beginning a cannabis establishment in Malden is muddled and difficult. The people of our state voted in favor of legalized cannabis, but Malden has effectively subverted the will of the people through its unreasonable use of buffer zone requirements. This amendment would clarify our application and interpretation of the use of buffer zones and how they affect these establishments. It will make Malden's process more transparent and fair to entrepreneurs working to make a living. As a citizen in favor of fair, transparent government, I support the amendment. Thank you. My name is Mark Bernstein, and I live at 412 Pleasant Street, Ward 2 of Malden. I'm writing tonight in favor of Table 315 and against Paper 286. Many years ago, voters of Malden and of the Commonwealth mandated retail cannabis. Nonetheless, the City of Malden defied both the will of the citizens and the requirements of the law in order to delay, defer, and defeat access to cannabis in Malden. In a time which American democracy is gravely threatened, such dereliction does untold damage to the tattered shreds of our social ties with inviting potentially ruinous litigation. Paper 286 would hand over the duty of the negligent defiance to an unelected and irresponsible committee. This is a bad idea on the merits, made worse by the obvious fact that several members of the City Council, okay, we'll leave that one out, Paper 315, instead vests the responsibility for provocation and delay in the Council itself. This is bad policy, as it sets the City Council members in a position of determining exceptions, which might in principle include arbitrary and capricious exceptions to regulations that they themselves impose. Nevertheless, this is preferable to vesting the same power in a star chamber or to permitting the current regulations uncompliant with the law of the Commonwealth and an imitation alike to corrupt dealing and costly liability. Sound policy would have enacted regulations that complied with the spirit and the letter of the Commonwealth law and with the clearly expressed determination of Malden's voters. We have seen the consequences of arbitrary rule before. Our nation was founded in opposition to it. A process that allows free and fair access all right, not only by the personal grace of family ski-ons, should be your goal. Yours truly, Mark Bernstein. My name is Annie Apatasso Stesano, and I live at 92 Columbia Street in Ward 6 of Malden. I'm writing tonight in favor of table paper 315 and against table paper 286. We voted for the city council so that you can deal with the tough decisions and not pass the buck to the planning board, which votes no to almost everything and is appointed, not elected. If any council doesn't have the ability to do the job they elected, perhaps they should step down. The voters of Ward 6 elected Stephen Winslow to represent us. Stephen Winslow was elected as a pro-cannabis platform, and I urge the city council to allow Mr. Winslow to decide what goes on in his own ward, which is what we elected to do. The revenue we need to improve our city is being denied with these ridiculous constraints for legal businesses to operate for adults 21 plus, like we have for liquor stores. Thank you. And the last one, I'm writing in support of paper 351, which is 315, to allow the city council grant findings on cannabis buffer zones. This amendment has been unreasonably, unfairly delayed for over 7 months. Buffer zones cover the vast majority of Malden, and the Zoning Board of Appeals has set a precedent of not granting any variances for cannabis buffer zones. I was in attendance for the entirety of the ZBA hearing at which the precedent was set, and the board clearly has punted this question back to the city council. Not just the specific proposed shop at issue in that ZBA hearing, but also other social equity applicants should be helped by the approval of paper 315. The specific project at issue in the above-mentioned ZBA hearing is a picture-perfect example of the type of cannabis shop we need in Malden, and the buffer zone violation issue is a textbook example of a reason for a variance, whether via the CBA or council action. The portion that is closest to the residents is located in a heavily industrial area and is not only a large yard, but 2 high fences and a bike trail to separate the shop from the residents. General Law 94G requires that cannabis zoning in cities cannot be unreasonably impractical. The combination of Malden draconian buffer zones and the ZBA's refusal to consider variances have created a wholly unjust and impractical situation for prospective cannabis applicants, especially social equity applicants who are limited in the properties they can lease through high commercial real estate prices. In the original cannabis law, as well as recent amendments, the Commonwealth has indicated that getting social equity applicants to a successful license should be considered a high priority activity for cities, and the state is ready to back this up with a tax benefit for Malden. I'm eager to patronize a cannabis shop owned and operated by Maldonians and located close to my home. To be clear, I would still support the shop at issue in the ZBA hearing if it were even closer to my house. It rankles me to no end each time I drive past the Merrill shop on Broadway. It is ridiculous that Merrill's is getting all the tax money from a mediocre shop with no competition from great Malden cannabis shops. I appreciate the council's Crow, Linehan, McDonald, Simonelli for moving this conversation forward, and I urge the council to remedy the legal zoning situation for cannabis in Malden. Best, Caitlin Peaton, Peel Sloan, 69 Columbia Street.
Wow, that was fabulous. No, you sure you want to retire? Because you're getting really good at reading that stuff. You might have to get a side job at the library. The kids read, the kids' room. You can read the books. Thank you. Next order of business, approval of minutes.
Motion to approve.
All right, there was no, I didn't see any emails or edits or changes, so on Council Winslow's motion to approve both, Council Winslow, you doing both the 15th and the 22nd?
Yeah, both, yeah, motion to
Okay,
approve both.
so on Council Winslow's motion to approve the minutes of the November 15th and the 22nd, seconded by Council Condon, all those in favor? All those opposed? 11-0, minutes are approved. Next order of business.
Okay, there's a bunch of petitions that the chair...
Are these being all referred?
Yeah, they're all
These are all being referred?
Yeah.
If the council does not mind, read them all and refer them at once. Any objections? Okay. Clerk Lucy, take a sip of water. This is, you got about 20 licenses you got to refer.
Paper 469-22, petition amusement machines, Tanda Inc., DBA Flaming Grill and Buffet at 52 Broadway. 3 machines, it's renewal. Paper 470-22, petition amusement machines, Albin Inc., DBA Pearl Street Station at 53 Summer Street. 2 machines, it's renewal. Paper 471-22, petition amusement machines, Malden Veterans of Irish Ancestry, 177 West Street. 4 machines, it's a renewal. Paper 472-22, petition extended hours, G&V Convenience, Inc., DBA Supreme Food Mart of 1018 Eastern Ave, 24 hours, 7 days renewal. Paper 473-22, petition extended hours, Bodeborg, Boston of 90 Pleasant Street, 10 o'clock a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days, and as requested for annually held special events. Paper 474-22, petition extended hours, license Walgreens of 185 Center Street, 24 hours, 7 days, it's a renewal. Paper 475-22, petition extended hours, Speedway 2504 of 214 Broadway, 24 hours, 7 days, it's a renewal. Paper 476-22, petition Class 2 license for Wentworth Auto Sales of 730 Eastern Ave, renewal, 15 cars. Paper 477-22, petition Class 2 license for Next Level Motors, Inc. of 189 Eastern Ave, renewal, 35 cars. Paper 478-22, petition Class 2 license for Greenleaf Auto Sales of 28 Broadway, renewal, 50 cars. Paper 479-22, petition Class 2 license for Sega Auto Sales and Service, Inc. of 449 Ferry Street, renewal, 15 cars. Paper 480-22, petition Class 2 license for Nick's Foreign Car Center, LLC of 121 Beach Street, renewal, 15 cars. Paper 481-22, petition Class 2 license for Quality Auto Sales, Inc. of 856 Eastern Ave, renewal, 0 cars. Paper 482-22, petition Class 2 license Prestige Motors of Malden, Inc. of 600 Broadway, renewal, 67 cars. Paper 438-22, petition Class 2 license for Broadway Auto Motors, Inc. of 495 Broadway, renewal, 27 cars. And paper 484-22, petition Class 2 license for Andy Service Center, Inc. of 356 Lebanon Street, renewal, 3 cars.
Refer to license.
On Council Seeker's motion to refer the petition to license, all in favor? Second by Council Winslow, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Items are referred to licensing. Next order of business. Do you want me to read it? I can read it.
I got it. Paper 485-22, that the City Council adopt a residential exemption of 30% and a minimum residential factor for the FY 2023 tax rate.
Well, it's the most wonderful time of the year, Mr. Kramer, and we know how this ends.
Good evening, everybody. Hard to
So-
believe this is my third time already.
This is your third time, and I see that you brought Mr. Donnelly in as backup, which is always good to see Mr. Donnelly in the building.
In case you guys get in any trouble.
You still awake, Mr. Donnelly? You didn't look like you were awake there for me. You still awake? So I just want to make a note that it was advertised in the paper or the newspaper as a public hearing. Nate's portion is not a public hearing. Nate Kramer will give his presentation, and then we open up to a public hearing when everybody can come in. I just want to clarify because there was kind of a misread in the newspaper, so
Okay.
let the public know that there will be a public hearing, but be after your portion of the presentation.
Okay. All right, so here we are, FY23 classification presentation. We need to select a minimum residential factor and the granting of a residential exemption. And I will run through this quick because I know you have a busy night. The minimum residential factor, a factor of 1 would yield a single rate of $10.74 per thousand. But Chapter 200 allows communities to select a factor less than 1, hereby shifting more of the tax burden onto the CIP classes, commercial, industrial, and personal properties. Historically, Malden has chosen the maximum allowable shift factor to afford residential taxpayers the lower share of the tax burden allowed by state law. For fiscal 23, we're looking at calendars 20 and 21, so the area that's circled, so a lot of people get confused with that. So the fiscal 23 values are actually primarily based on calendar 21. This year, we actually cannot go to a full 1.75 shift. By law, the residential classes need to pay a certain share of the levy, and commercial properties can't pay over their share. So this year, because of the changes in values, the max we can do is 1.74. You can see there how
Can I just have a
close-
point of information? Is that new?
What?
The portion of the levy paid by the individual tax rate?
Nope.
So the commercial tax could never pay for a certain amount always?
Yeah, they can't pay over a certain amount of the levy.
I never knew that.
Yep.
Thank you.
So you can see how tight those numbers are, though. I mean, it's digits. 9027 versus 9013 if we were able to do a full shift. It's a 5-cent difference in the residential tax rate. FY23 average residential value is $689,480. That includes all residential properties, including the large apartment buildings. As you can see, the 1.74 shift, which is our max allowed, is 0.9027, which would mean a $12.19 tax rate and an average estimated bill of $8,384. That doesn't include the residential exemption. And again, that also includes all of the large apartment buildings. So that number is very skewed. The maximum allowable shift results in a $903 savings to the average residential taxpayer versus no shift at all. And again, these amounts do not include the residential exemption. Here are those same numbers for the commercial, industrial, and personal properties. Average value is just under 1.4 million. The tax rate is going to be 1869. At the maximum allowable shift with the selected minimum residential factor of 0.9027, our estimated tax rates, again, will be 1219 residential, 1869 commercial. They could change slightly during the approval process. And down underneath, you can see where we've been the past few years. Residential exemption. By law, we can do a residential exemption of up to 35%. Only 16 communities statewide have adopted it. Malden adopted it in 2008. The exemption amount, the dollar amount, that was actually exempted was $2,415.56. Of the 12,472 residential properties that about 8,500 qualify. The break-even point this year is $1,024,124. So properties that, as you get closer to that value and go over that value, those taxpayers begin to pay more. And you might remember the presentation I did a while back on how all of that works. So with these numbers for fiscal 23, there are 11 single-family homes that are above that. No condos, 25 two-families, 39 three-families, 14 109s, which are multiple houses on one lot, 94 4 to 8 unit apartment buildings, and 100 large apartment buildings. Here's the difference between the average tax bill from FY22 to FY23. You can see the value went up from 651 to 689. The average residential tax bill here, again, does not include the residential exemption. This page does include residential exemptions, and this is a comparison of fiscal 22. You can see that of the surrounding towns or the nearby communities that also have the residential exemption, Malden is really right in the middle as far as residential tax bills with the exemption. And this slide just shows what the neighboring communities did for shifts for fiscal 22 last year. Not everybody has done it yet this year. So we're looking at 22 numbers. And you can see where the average bill is. And on this slide, it does include the exemption if the community has it. And that's a conclusion. So we need to decide whether or not to go with a shift of 1.74 and whether or not to continue with the residential exemption of 30%.
Counselor Spatafor, you turned on my mic. I did have a question, though. Thanks.
Got it? Your mic's
Yeah,
on? Go ahead.
it's on, thank you. Thank you for that. I was trying to follow along as best as I could. The commercial and personal property slide, would you mind going back to that one?
Nope.
And then my question was, is that per parcel, or is it per, like, unit of personal property? Like, how is the average?
Per 1,000,
This
isn't
one?
it?
Yeah.
It's per 1,000, isn't it?
Like, see how you said the average commercial, industrial, personal property value?
Yep, so
Is
that
that like per
includes
parcel?
every commercial, industrial, and personal property, the average of every single one of those throughout the whole city.
Okay,
So some are way lower than that, some are way higher than that.
understood.
That includes, for instance, all the personal property that National Grid has, which is approaching $100 million.
Okay. And then that was a great segue. In previous years, I had asked questions about utility companies. I've heard that there was some discovery that utility companies weren't necessarily paying what they were supposed to pay. Did we get a windfall for that?
Nope,
Well,
not necessarily discovery. DOR mandated that those be valued a different way. So in the past, it was net book value, and DOR was pushing a different way to value it, which did result in an increase in Malden of their utility properties of between 30 and 50%. But that's not, that wasn't new growth, so it was, what it did was essentially lower the commercial tax rate, because it wasn't new growth, it was just a different way of valuing what was already there.
and then, and then the main reason being is we've had a lot of gas work done, and obviously a old rusty gas line that's depreciated in value is worth a lot less than a new gas line. That is all taken care of through that new way of valuing?
So they still report new growth, so I think for National Grid alone, it was around 11 million just for new growth this year.
Okay.
And so that's new stuff that they installed.
Okay, great. So actually getting our utilities done creates new growth and new tax
Yep.
generation. That's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Counselor Karen Cologne-Hayes.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. I went over it and reviewed it earlier today, so I just had a couple of questions. First of all, I wanted to, and maybe you can help with the wording of this, but wanted to make it clear to the people watching tonight that sometimes people think that having a residential tax exemption means that we're lowering, like we're not collecting as much taxes. So I like to be clear that we're just shifting. I mean, if you want to speak a little bit to that, just to avoid any questions about what that means.
Yep, so a residential tax exemption essentially,
You can say push, you can say push.
what's that?
You can say push it over to somebody else.
It's a discount to the lower end, lower valued properties, and it pushes it onto the higher valued property. So that slide where I showed the break-even point, those folks, I don't know where it went, but it was $1,024,000. Those folks start to pay more. And also as a result of the residential exemption, you'll remember on page 1, I said if we just had a single tax rate with no residential exemption, the tax rate would be
Right.
$10.74. But because of the exemption, we actually can't have a single rate with the exemption. The residential rate ends up being about $2 higher.
Okay, so it's
But
not that
we're
we're
not-
collecting less taxes.
We're not collecting less, we're
Exactly,
collecting the
okay.
same amount, but it's shifted from the lower value to the higher
Right,
value.
I just wanted to be
properties.
clear about that, because
Yep.
I know that's confusing sometimes. And just a question about what would happen, I know we're going to, or you suggested 30%, so I'm thinking, I get a little concerned about that with multifamily homes. If that costs, you might not be able to answer that, but do you feel like this cost sometimes get passed down to renters?
I think to a point, I think the market's only gonna bear what the market's gonna bear, you know, I think, you know, if you were to increase it, obviously it would increase those property owners' tax bills, but, at the same time, I don't think they can just, raise the rent to whatever they feel like. The market's only gonna bear so much.
Okay, that's just my concern. I know it's great. I own my home. It's great for residential tax. I just get a little concerned we're a big renter, community.
I'd probably be most concerned with the mom and pop places that are.
Yeah, okay.
Where, the larger buildings where they literally change their rates multiple times a day based on the competition. Probably not as big of a concern, but the mom and pop places where they really feel the differences in the tax bill would absolutely
Oh, thank you.
raise their
That's good
rents.
to know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Barbara Murphy.
I'll wait till everyone's done.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
gonna make,
Any other questions for Nate? Comments, questions, concerns? Okay, Counselor Murphy.
I'd like to make a motion
Yeah,
that
we got to do the public hearing, though.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to. Okay, so no questions? All right.
Can I ask just one?
Yeah, you can, absolutely, Counselor McDonald.
Thank you for.
Oh,
Thank
did
you
I
for
do
this.
that?
I'm good now, right?
Okay,
I'm
good.
live?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
live.
Thank you to our assessors department, and I'm sorry if I missed this in the presentation. Can you clarify, what's the average residential tax bill this year relative to this estimated 4,278 that you're proposing for next year?
This year versus last year?
Yeah, this year versus next year. Including the residential exemption.
Including the exemption,
Yeah.
so,
We could do a little math there, so.
so including the exemption, so last year, including the exemption, the average bill was $42.78. And
Well, that's this year. So,
that's fiscal '22.
okay, so
We're in '23 now.
oh, I see.
But the exemption that we're applying right now is still the FY '22 numbers, because tonight will determine, if you guys go for this, will determine what the actual tax bills will be for the third and fourth quarter.
Got it. And so you haven't calculated that yet based on,
No, it would probably, my guess is it would be probably $200 to $300 more on
Okay.
average.
thank you.
And let me just put some words about, no, it's not if, we need to get this voted in, because you have to get it certified by the state.
Yep.
Correct? So we will be sending around the clerk has the documentation that we will sign once we agree on the tax rate, which we give to the treasurer. And it goes to the state to get verified, and then you put it in the system and you start sending out your bills.
Yep.
Merry Christmas. Any questions for Nate? Okay, let's open up the public hearing, which is required by everybody.
I just had a quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Council Murphy, Council O'Malley.
The public hearing was publicized, because I don't see it on the agenda. It was actually publicized?
It was.
Okay, I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure.
Yep. It was advertised in the newspaper. I declare this public hearing open. Anybody who wants to speak in favor of this order, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Nobody wants to come forward and vote on increasing your tax bills?
I'm used to it.
Yeah. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this order, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. And third time and final time, anybody who wants to come forward and state your name and address, speak in favor of this petition, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none and hearing none, I declare that portion of the meeting closed. Anybody who wishes to speak against this opposition, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. This is where everybody should get up and speak against this one. Anybody who wants to speak in opposition to this petition, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone who wants to speak against this, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none and hearing none, I deem that portion of the meeting closed, and the public hearing is now closed. Council Murphy for the paper.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the 1.74 shift and the 30% residential exemption.
Everybody hear that? on Councilor Murphy's motion to accept, say that again, Councilor Murphy?
1.74 shift and 30%
30% residential
exemption.
minimum residential factor for fiscal year 2023. Everybody got that? Councilor O'Malley?
I don't mean to beat a dead horse, because this is something we don't want to screw up. When does it need to be approved by? Like, tonight?
Yeah, you're voting on it tonight.
No, I understand, but like, when does it need to be certified by?
Oh, soon, because we have other things behind this that are, I think, December 5th. Dan has a meeting with Munis to get the bills printed.
5th. I'm told by the clerk the 5th.
And then
Well, we need it done before that, because
and then how many days before a hearing do you need to publicize in the newspaper? Is it 20 days?
No, not on this. We did it 10 days.
Hold on, let me put the clerk's mic, your mic's not on, clerk.
It was advertised 10 days before this.
10 days before. The only reason I'm saying it is we might want to take the vote tonight, and I just don't see it on the agenda, and this is not something we really want to potentially screw up. We might want to put it again, just to make sure that we voted it properly, so that it doesn't hold up them. We can take the vote tonight, they know they can move forward with printing, et cetera, but we want to make sure we get this right. And I just don't see a hearing on the agenda. And that could, I just don't know if someone challenges that, we didn't properly set the tax rate. That's really not something that we want to come up ever. Maybe I'm overreacting, I don't know.
Can we sign it, though?
Somebody from legal here today?
No, they won't, yeah, exactly. No, we're not gonna be able to sign it then. We can vote it, we're not gonna be able to sign it tonight, Nate.
okay.
Because I'm not gonna have the council sign it if we need to have another public meeting.
We just like to try to get it done as early as possible so people aren't getting bills on Christmas Eve.
5th is Monday.
Well, we can come back in.
Just to be clear, like, we should vote tonight that we're in favor of it. I'm just saying that
No, I think we can vote.
to
We
make
can't
sure
sign
we
it.
get it right, we just want to make sure we're setting the tax rate. So I just think that we should vote it tonight,
Is it 10 days?
do everything we need to do. You can move forward with that, and then we just vote it again.
Do you need our signatures to move forward with the state?
Yeah, we need to have that stuff submitted.
Yeah, we can't sign it then. I don't think it would be prudent to sign it if it's not complete. But we'll figure that out tomorrow.
I think we should still vote, though, and you can still start the process.
If you vote, I don't think I need the signatures tonight,
Okay,
but if you.
we'll vote. That's no problem. We'll vote. Okay. Councilor Murphy, I got your motion to accept the rate at 1.74 shift and adopt the residential exemption of 30% with a for the minimum residential factor for fiscal year
Second.
2023. Counselor Hayes, do you have your hand up?
Nope, I was going to second too.
Oh.
Go ahead, yes.
So on Counselor Murphy's motion, seconded by Counselor Crowe, clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes. Yes. Condon. Yes. Crowe. Yes. Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Seeker.
Yes.
Simonelli. Winslow. Yes. Spatafora.
Yes. Motion passes. Tax rate is adopted for fiscal year 2023 right now. Next order of business.
Paper 486-22, order the Malden City Council adopt the Hazard Mitigation Plan 2022 update established by the committee during public meetings held by the Malden Conservation Commission on May 6, 2022, and by the Malden Emergency Management Team on June 15, 2022, outlining several potential future projects to mitigate potential impacts from natural hazards in the city of Malden, and to further authorize responsible departments and/or agencies to execute their responsibilities demonstrated in the plan on behalf of the city of Malden.
Sergeant, right? Sergeant J.P. Kelly has a presentation for the council. How you
Good
doing?
evening, Council.
Good evening, Sergeant.
Thank you very
Sergeant,
much for having me. Sergeant John Kelly.
I just want to be very clear. I looked at your PowerPoint, I believe it's over 100 pages, right?
This wouldn't be a presentation.
Okay,
That's
we're
why I
not,
sent it to
okay,
Greg.
we're not going to be going over that, right?
No, we won't.
Okay, good, okay. I just want to be very clear.
Thank
This is
you.
one time I get to control this, Sergeant.
You do. Anything else? Okay.
Go ahead, Sergeant, you have the floor.
Sergeant John Kelly, Malden Police Department, Emergency Management, City of Malden Director. This was just completed and updated. There has a mitigation plan for the next 5 years. It's updated every 5 years. It was completed. Upon adoption from the City Council, we'll forward this to the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, and they'll put it on file for the record for the next 5 years. So I'll be looking for the City Council to adopt this hazard mitigation plan.
Any questions for the Sergeant? Oh, you gonna go through it? You want to go through it?
Page by page.
No, don't go through it.
No, I sent the copy to
Yeah,
to Greg.
it's attached. Councilor McDonald, we have it.
Thank you, Sergeant, and
Yes.
did go through it. I have a question, I have a general question, and also just want to give you the opportunity first, though, if there are particular highlights in the change of this plan that would be good for the community to know, maybe you could just hit a couple of points of what has, I did not, full disclosure, look at this one in comparison to the previous one next
Yes.
to them, so.
So as a new emergency management director, this was updated over the last year. I just was appointed July 1st.
Congratulations.
Chief Cronin was the emergency management director before me. So they went over it with MAPC, wrote it up, went through it. So the differences, I couldn't pick differences or highlights right now on this since I just got it. And they did update it. I wasn't in those meetings because I wasn't on the team back then. So that's something I'm going to look over the next year, a couple months, go through it and see kind of some of the highlights that we need to look at.
Great. I particularly appreciate the plan's attention to climate change risks for the community. I mean, it's big threats to our flooding and temperatures and you know, extreme weather, so I appreciated that shows up very prominently, as the state requires us to do, in this plan. You probably know, or maybe you know, that the City of Malden is just starting an overall climate action plan that will build on this work and look at greenhouse gas emissions, our municipal vulnerability, preparedness, and so on. That process is likely, it's also working with MAPC, will take probably 18 months or so. So I want to ask you, on behalf of as the emergency management director, that when that plan is completed, will you be able to commit to taking a look at this hazard mitigation plan in light of anything that comes out of that climate action plan process, and bring us back anything that we may need to update from that point?
Good question. Absolutely. I'm actually on that committee.
That's
we meet
great.
every couple weeks. I'm proud of it already. I've only been on it a couple of meetings. But what we're going to come up with will make us a leader, something that the city council and the city will be proud of. That we'll be the first in the area to do a lot of the things that we're looking to do, you know, to make the city greener. You know, one of the things that we had come up with was like a logo. You know, make it fun, get the kids involved in the schools, you know, get a mascot, stuff like that, you know, get the younger generation involved and excited about some of the changes. So I'll definitely be a part of that, and then once that is complete, I will come in front of the city council again and let you know any changes that were made.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. Yes, the kids are all about the future of the climate. And so maybe then I'll just phrase that as a direct invitation, that whenever you need to come back and let us know about updates, because that climate action planning process, I'd love to hear them. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, thank you, Sergeant, and welcome to this enormous task that we face as a community. So I do appreciate it. I did put in some comments in particular. I think we did, at one point, I did show you everybody this map of stormwater areas that we're doing research on right now, and I think some of that is actually going to do some, starting a second round next week. So, you know, in particular areas like Linden Brook and Forest Street and the Bowman Street area and places in Ward 2 as well. So, so I appreciate that the plan did integrate in that type of stuff we're doing. And so that's great. So that is one of the changes, looking at that type of thing. I think the other thing, just to let Sergeant be aware of, There is an effort now going on, particularly focused on the east side of the city, the Saugus River Basin. If you do go through the report, you'll see there's some very great graphics of, particularly south of really, Route 60. Our community is subject, to, sea level rise and flooding in that area. So actually the Woods Hole Institute is now helping coordinate a Saugus River municipal vulnerability plan that will take into account some other things. Like, I know that from the 2017 plan, there was calls to do dredging of the Town Line Brook. That hasn't happened. So we have a lot of things that were good in the plan, but we didn't execute on. One of the things I really want to emphasize is beyond getting young people involved, we as a council have to get engaged. There's literally millions of dollars, it's state money, federal money coming and being available by having this plan and doing other plans. So we have to, and the climate action plan. So we have to, go and it takes real money. It takes bulldozers and, heavy equipment to get some of this stuff done. So that's the type of thing we have to be prepared of as we go forward to the city. So, but I appreciate, this is one step. Sometimes you can't even apply for these grants without having this. So I'm very supportive and welcome on board and looking forward to working with you on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Council Winslow. Councilor Barbara Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just very quick. One of the things just going through it quickly when it came in that I really liked is the fact that you're going to incorporate the business community, in the process, because, a lot of times people just think it's all in the government, but really this is a problem that we all need to embrace. So it's going to be very interesting to see how you get the business community and the owners of some of these properties involved. So we'll be really looking forward to hearing how that works. And hopefully you'll come back and give us some updates, throughout the year as things change. So thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Karen Colon-Hayes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say it's great to see you here,
Thank you.
Sergeant, and thank you for sending along the hard work that y'all have been doing. I had gone with Captain Cronin when he was chief to a few of those meetings, so I'm glad that you're going to be taking this on. Love to hear, I know we've worked together before with
Yes.
youth, so I love to hear the fact that you're going to bring some youth in. Everything's better when you involve the youth, so I'm just here to offer my help in anything that you need. I'd love to, help gather youth or whatever it is that you need, so thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Chris Simonelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sarge, I just want to say that congratulations on this new appointment here, and I know that you'll take it on wholeheartedly. I know you have in your past endeavors, so I think the city of Malden is safe with you at the helm there, so I just want to congratulate you, and I'm looking forward to hearing some good things from you. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
So Council,
Council-
make a motion to adopt.
Yeah, we got a couple more lights. Councilor O'Malley? Hold on, Council. You got it?
Thank you, I got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming out tonight, and welcome to the team. It's great. Would you mind, and maybe this happened before you joined, so if Councilor Winslow, you could help out. What was the public engagement process like for this plan? How many meetings were held? What was the outreach like? How did we get community input for the plan?
That I couldn't tell you. I know they did have a couple of meetings, you know what I mean? And we do have an emergency management team that we meet once a month and would go over stuff like this, especially when every 5 years, just to make sure that, we're with MEMA and they have a plan. If something happens, that we have a plan on file. So, going forward, seeing this is brand new, I'll go through it, see some of the stuff from 2017 and what's in this plan to see what the differences are and see what we maybe missed and what we can, kind of do a little bit better job on moving forward, like Council Winslow said.
Perfect. Did you want to?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the report that, the plan has a pretty detailed thing of the public
meetings.
outreach and meetings, and the Conservation Commission did hold a meeting, and then I think there was then a joint meeting with the Conservation Committee and the Emergency Management Team. So that's the process I put my comments in, and, I mean, there was an effort to outreach. There wasn't a lot of public input. I mean, this is the type of thing that it's hugely important to the city, but it's not something people in their day-to-day lives can really get their head around. So, so that's the challenge, and there was that effort, and, you know, I think there's a lot of, you know, good staff people in Malden and surrounding communities are working on this in the state, federal level, and we just have to, you know, be sure that we're, you know, we are doing what we can as a community. So, but this plan is an essential part of that. And there was you know, a good community outreach process for that.
Thank you. Yeah, because that's one of the things I noticed. It didn't appear that there was a lot of public actual involvement. It looks like there was an attempt, but I think one of the things now that you're in the leadership role there, the next time this is done in 5 years, really kind of meeting people where they are, leaning on community organizations like the Friends of the Malden River. I think that's going to be really crucial. Language access, things like that, because as we know, a lot of the residents who are going to be hardest hit by this may not even speak English. A lot of our public housing facilities are in floodplains. They were specifically built there because people weren't building there previously. So kind of just maybe making sure that we engage those communities who are going to be most heavily impacted. That would be something I would really ask.
Yes, and that's something that I definitely, you know, I take on is that through social media and other platforms is get, you know, the more minds, the better. You know what I mean? Someone might be seeing it in a different way they might live. I grew up in Ward 8, so I know when it floods. I know Broadway, and I've seen it in, you know, torrential rains when I was the 168 car, you know what I mean? And how Broadway, then you got over by the cemetery, you know, and then now I see it on a plan 20 years later, you know, and it's come a long way. But that's definitely, you know, the people that live in these areas are definitely impacted. So why wouldn't we reach out to them and say, hey, listen, you know, what can we do better, and what, you know, what impacts their life on a daily basis? Absolutely, and I know that you're new to the role, so this is not like necessarily, this is not a reflection of you specifically. You know, I think in the future plans, definitely making sure that we focus on Edgeworth too. You know, the only thing that's holding back the floodwaters from Edgeworth is the Amelia Earhart Dam. It's decrepit and old. It doesn't really work great. So making sure, I know that's what the Friends of the Malden River is really focusing on with their Malden River Works, is really kind of in bringing the bank up so that if there was a storm surge, it wouldn't just flow straight into Edgeworth. So making sure that we focus not just on the east part of the city, which is really exposed, but also, you know, the west over by Edgeworth. I did look at the Heat Island section. That's something that is, you know, I'm really passionate about because Malden is on two watersheds. There's the Mystic River watershed, which most people know about because it has a great advocacy group. But the eastern part of the city, I actually don't know what the name of the watershed is. Is it?
Saugus.
The Saugus River watershed. You know, those two watersheds meet at Roosevelt Park at the Salem Wood School. And, you know, when it comes to really, you know, making sure that we're living by the documents that we're putting out there, you know, I think that putting in a turf field there is not the best idea when it comes to climate mitigation and hazard mitigation, particularly with heat islands. So I was a little disappointed not to see that in it. So I think just really focusing on heat islands. There wasn't even a map. Just making sure that we're giving that the importance that it really deserves. But again, I thank you for listening here and look forward to helping you with the next version. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any other questions? Councilor Karen Colon-Hayes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no? Okay. No other questions for Sergeant Kelly. Councilor Murphy, you had okay, on Councilor Murphy's motion to adopt, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Plan is adopted. Thank you, Sergeant Kelly.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your
And
time.
thank you for
Have a
not
good
going
night.
through a 180-page document. Much appreciated. Next order of business.
Paper 487-22, order that the Malden City Council endorses the Malden Community Electricity Plan for a municipal electrical aggregation program and authorizes submission of this plan to the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities for its review and approval.
Councilor Karen McDonald for the paper.
Thank you, and welcome to Emily Granoff from the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development, and who have been great partners in moving this forward along with our Public Facilities Department. We have a brief presentation, and I would just encourage you, Emily, to know that this is a friendly crowd who is excited about this project and does not need persuasion, but we do have to go through the results of the public comment for the purposes of our DPU filing. So I'll turn it over to you, Emily.
Thank you so much. I think in 1 sec I'll be able to put up the PowerPoint here. Yep, here we go.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for having me here tonight. I'm really excited to be talking to you about the results of our public engagement period for Malden Community Electricity. It has been a few months, I know, since you guys were talking about this at City Council, so just a brief reminder about what municipal energy aggregation is. It's a process that the state allows us to do where we can go out to bid and get a supplier for our energy that is not National Grid. So it allows us to provide some competition to National Grid, both in terms of price, though cost savings can't be guaranteed, and in terms of more renewable energy. National Grid still takes care of delivering the energy to Malden residents, so they still take care of the billing, they still manage the equipment. It's just the supplier that can be different with this program. The goals for the program, as you guys discussed, I know when you voted to approve us pursuing this back in May, were to expand consumer choice for electricity supply, provide advantageous and predictable rates for electricity, though again, savings can't be guaranteed, use clean energy and support the growth of renewables, provide city-vetted alternatives to third-party retailers, and offer protection against market volatility like what we're seeing with heating and electricity prices this winter. So what's already been done? You guys voted in May to authorize us to pursue this. We partnered with Good Energy as an aggregation consultant in October, and working with them, we developed a draft plan. The public comment period started on October 12th for that plan. That was a month of public outreach and us soliciting the public to tell us, what they wanted to see out of this and what we could do better. We had a public hearing on November 3rd, and we received our last regulatory step before coming to you guys on November 14th, and that was a letter of approval or a letter of consultation from the Department of Energy Resources. During the public comment period, we got a total of 12 comments. We also had 8 people attend our public meeting, which I am told by our consultant is quite good. All comments will be included in the final plan submitted to the Department of Public Utilities, and I also have that compiled in a document to send to all of you. So you should see that in your inboxes tomorrow. The following slide is just a sample of some of the comments we got. They were really extremely positive. People we heard from took the time to really read through a pretty dense plan and give us really specific feedback. And we're really excited to see that we're doing this. In terms of stuff that we clarified in response to public comments and questions, I just wanted to run you through some of the frequently asked questions, so to speak. The plan does give us the flexibility to include between 5 and 15% additional renewable energy, and we wanted to leave ourselves that flexibility so that we can choose what to prioritize at the time we go out to bid. If it's a time like right now when costs are really high, maybe we want to include less renewable energy to provide lower costs, especially for our low-income residents. If it's a time when that's maybe not as much the case, we can try to add more renewable energy. Which, again, the disclaimer that savings can't be guaranteed. All additional renewable energy, so that 5 to 15%, will be Massachusetts Class 1, which is mainly wind and solar power. Massachusetts Class 1 excludes large-scale hydro. The only hydro that would be counted under that category would be low-impact hydro. If you have solar panels, all net metering and other credits will remain in place. The only difference you would see is if you are drawing power from the grid at any point, instead of giving back to it, the source on your bill will be different. It'll still be the same National Grid bill, same as everything else, but the source will be whoever Malden Community Electricity is contracting with. And the customer helpline that we're going to set up at the time of launch will have translation services available. In terms of things we changed in response to public comments, we caught a typo, so thank you to the resident who did that. We also added the Haitian Day Center into the launch outreach plan in an attempt to sort of, widen the constituencies that we're going to try and reach directly with their own languages and with sources of information that they trust. The next step is hopefully city council approval. Then tomorrow, we can send the plan off to the Department of Public Utilities for their review and approval. That process can be pretty lengthy, but we are trying to work with our legislative delegation to shorten it so that Malden residents can get the benefits of this plan as soon as possible. Once we're approved by the DPU, we can go out to bid for electricity, though there's never an obligation. So if prices are very high at the time when we get approved, we can wait a couple months and see if they come back down. We have the flexibility to do what we think is going to be competitive for Malden residents. There will also be significant multilingual outreach ahead of launch, and that's something that we're already working on and thinking about with our language access coordinator. We currently hope that the program will launch in late 2023. Any questions?
We have a bunch of questions. Council, you have any questions, Council? Because you're the first one light on.
No, I'll.
You'll yield
hold
to
for
everybody
now.
else?
Yeah.
Okay, Council Amanda Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Emily, for that presentation. That was great. I really want to applaud Councilor McDonald for getting this across the finish line, or at least close to the finish line. I know this has been a goal for a lot of us for many years, and it takes a lot of, due diligence and research to get to this point. I'm very in favor. I just had a question about, what does it look like from the consumer end, assuming we make it through the DPU process? Is it default opt-in? Will they get like an explainer where they have to opt in? Or do you get enrolled in this and you pull yourself out if you don't want it, essentially? Can you walk through what that'll look like when we get to that point?
Absolutely, great question. So this is an opt-out program. City residents will be defaulted into it. During the launch, DPU does have some pretty specific regulations about what we need to do. Bless you. Because it's opt-out, so there's a 30-day period after we get approved where residents can opt out, like before it even starts. We're gonna send out a postcard letting people know that this is a thing that's happening, and then we'll follow that up with a letter explaining more detail about it. And both of those we are working on making sure that they are available in all of the languages commonly spoken in Malden. Many residents probably won't notice much of a difference. Hopefully that they will see lower prices. That source line on their national grid bill will be different. If residents want to opt out or they have another energy supplier that they already use, they are definitely welcome to do that. I am told it's not a hard thing to do, though Patrick should feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Looks like I'm right. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I thought of another quick question, if it's okay, just and follow up. I love what you're saying about the eligibility for people that have solar panels and that won't change, but I'm wondering, as we shift more towards electrification, is this sustainable? Is this a stable model as we put more and more people off of gas, basically?
It doesn't have to do with providing heat or gas, it's just for electricity.
So if folks are not National Grid customers currently, they can still opt into this?
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's a new choice, essentially.
Yeah.
And as more and more people do that, there won't get to a point where we won't be eligible for it anymore, I guess is a better way to put it. I feel like I'm really not explaining my question well.
Can I try to comment on your, I think I know what you're asking.
Yes, please.
Councilor Linehan, so I think as the state pushes and the country pushes more people towards electrification of home heat and cooking, that will put more demands on the electricity grid and we'll all be spending more of our utility bill on electricity. So that's actually one of the reasons I think this is so important, is because it gives us the ability to negotiate on behalf of Malden ratepayers and then get a more stable rate so that we know we're doing our best to make sure that you're not just subject to the fluctuations that you're getting from National Grid. So I think these two things go very well together. And also to say, the MaldenCommunityElectricity.com website, if you go under electricity choices, has a great, kind of lays out, there's a standard plan which gets that little bit, gets a little bit more renewables, a 100% all renewable plan, and then a basic plan, which is the state minimum standards, but hopefully at a better rate.
That was perfect. Thank you for rephrasing in such an eloquent way. That's exactly what I was asking. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Councilor.
I'm all set.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor Barbara Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick question. So we negotiate, and is that for a set period of time? So 3 months or 6 months or?
Yeah, so currently what National Grid does is they go out to bid for prices for 6 months at a time for residential and commercial customers, and then 3 months for industrial customers. With our municipal energy aggregation plan, we can make a contract anywhere, usually they're between 1 and 3 years. So we can have that stability in the longer term if we have a really good rate that we feel confident we want to lock in, or if we go out to bid and we get a rate and we think this will be better in a year, we can just do a year-long contract and then go back out.
And like anything, supply and demand, and just, you know, the amount of purchase power that you have. So this opt-out, the more people who actually stay in it, I would assume we would have better purchasing power.
Well, you know, I will just offer, maybe this is a question for Patrick Rohe from Good Energy, because part of the reason we have them as our broker is because they are really good at helping us, you know, maximize that rate in the market.
Great, yes, thank you.
Can we just have your name and address for the record, just so?
Sure. Patrick Roach with Good Energy, 8 Edward Drive, North Grafton. One of the great things about these programs is the level of participation doesn't affect our rate. So what we'll do is we'll be going out to bid before the program launches, so we won't know how many people are going to participate, but the suppliers who are bidding on this know that the aggregation programs have been operating in the state for 5 or 6 years for most of them. The Cape Light Compact has been going for almost 20 years, so there's a very good track record of about how many people will participate. So suppliers have that knowledge, and they make an assumption.
Can I ask you, what is that historically?
Yeah, usually we see somewhere around 10% of the population choose to opt out, and probably another 10% of the population of residential consumers are already on a competitive supplier. And anyone who's already on a competitive supplier, meaning they've chosen their own supply, they're not eligible for the automatic enrollment. They're welcome to join, but they just wouldn't be part of the automatic enrollment. So that's usually what we see. And technically, everybody could leave the program except for one person, and the supplier would still be offering that rate. So, or to your earlier question, the load could increase a ton because you've electrified the whole city, and there's no cap either.
And just the last question,
No, go ahead.
hopefully it's a quick answer. Is there a way, like at the end of a year, to actually tell our constituency and the public, like what the savings was to them from going this way, as opposed to, is that something you give us a report on, or?
Yeah, definitely. We'll have, the staff will have access to a data portal that they'll be able to slice and dice the data about how we performed against basic service, the utility basic service, and they could look at it by rate class to see how's our participation doing with the low income rate class, how did they do, how did commercial accounts do. So yeah, that data will be available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Council Murphy. Council O'Malley.
Thank you. That's actually a perfect segue. Definitely would want that information going forward. Is there a way that we in the city can review your past performance against the grid in terms of like the rate that you're getting versus what your current customers are getting, so that we kind of know what we're getting into?
Yeah, right now our track record is one of, so we serve, I think we have 45 active programs in the Commonwealth, and for all those communities over there, what we try to do is, they're looking to save money over their contract term. So I'm happy to say that we have been able to do that. We can provide more detailed data if you'd like, but as Emily said, we can't guarantee savings going forward. So
that's the reason why I asked, because I've heard that a number of times now, and I think it's important for us, and whoever chooses to stay in or to opt out, what has been the past performance, so that
So the reason, if I could chime in on that one, the reason we have to give that disclaimer so much is because National Grid sets their rate for 6 months at a time. With this program, we could set a rate for potentially up to 3 years. So we can't guarantee that for every 6-month period in that 3 years, our rate will be lower than National Grid. But as an example, I think Medford community electricity rate right now is about 15 cents per kilowatt hour, compared to what we have with National Grid, which is like 34 cents per kilowatt hour this winter.
Yeah, and when this program does roll out, that mailer that Emily was talking about, when it launches, it'll have the prices that the program is offering, it'll have the renewable energy content and the term length, and then it'll also have that same information for basic service at the time, so someone can make kind of as good a comparison as we can give them at the time.
So can we add those historic comparisons to our the website, so that it's not just us select 12, 11 up here, but the entire community? Is that
Yeah,
something?
if we're putting that data together anyway, it's great to share with the community.
Perfect.
I know when I was doing my homework on this, Somerville has that data sort of already loaded up onto their website about this, and they've had this program for I think 5 years now. It's only been 1 6-month period in that time when National Grid or maybe EverSource in Somerville was offering a lower rate.
That's great news. Two more questions. Who makes the decision on what the mix would be? I'm assuming that's Good Energy as the broker. You decide like where to buy and like what mix of the energy, or who's making the decision on how much renewable versus that in terms of controlling that rate?
I could start. Yeah, so we will advise the city. So the mayor is designated with implementing the plan. So we'll be working with the mayor and the mayor's staff to make that final decision. So we'll be advising based on what we,
So the mayor would set the mix for that 1 year period of bidding?
Yeah, it would be the mayor's decision.
Okay, perfect. And then if residents a lot of Malden residents get fuel assistance and HEAP, is there a low-income subsidized rate? And how does that work in terms of people who are receiving subsidies?
Sure. Yeah, so National Grid has a low-income rate, and that gives you a discount somewhere around 30% on your entire bill, so the delivery side and the supply side. This is only affecting the supply side, but that discount still applies to the entire bill. So if you're enrolled in that low-income discount, that will not change. You don't have to re-enroll or anything like that, so that'll continue. And the same thing if you're enrolled in budget billing, where they sort of spread your costs out, that won't change either.
And it will apply to both sides of the bill?
Correct. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Had all the answers to my questions.
There are going to be some regulatory requirements in what we have to do with these mailings, but I think that we would be inclined to include information about the discount rate on a mailing we're sending out to every Malden resident about their energy bill, because we know that there are a lot of Malden residents eligible for it who aren't on it right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very excited about this. I was one of the people that got one of the calls about, is Malden doing this when we started for Medford? And I reached out to Councilor McDonald, who said it's on the way. So I think you really kind of fast-tracked that. And really, I know a lot of work went into it. So I'm really very appreciative. And I did get my electric bill. So when can I sign up? And so I know people are going to opt out. But if you opt out and then you realize, wait a minute, I should have opted in. Like, so if we have a year, I'm just wondering, like, if they go 6 months, say, whoop, I'm going with National Grid for this 6 months. Oh, I'm coming back to this one for this 6 months. Those coupon clippers that might figure out which way to go. Is that, or that they kind of, sort of opt in or opt out for a year, how long our contract is?
Yeah, so you are able to come in and out of the program, and basically coming in and out happens on your meter read, which is once a month, so you could be sort of out for a month and in for a month. The way it works, though, we'll contract, we'll have rates that we've contracted for, and everybody who's in the program initially will be offered that rate, and then if you're a new resident or you move into town, you're eligible for that as well. If you are in the program and you leave, you're welcome to come back. The supplier does have the option to offer you what's called a market rate. So the idea there is the supplier is, we are trying to protect them from the risk of people's, mass migration, ping-ponging in and out. In practice, over the 5 years we've been doing this, but we really see that only really deployed with large industrial accounts, because there's a natural churn to these programs every month, as there are lots of people moving in and out of town, opening accounts, leaving accounts. So individual residents coming in and out, it's more of a hassle for the supplier to come up with a market rate for them. They're so small. But they really reserve that usually for the large industrial accounts.
Great, thank you. And this was very informative, actually, you know, so I appreciate all your work.
You all set, Council? Councilman Winslow.
Yeah, I know, you know, a few years back when we first started talking about this as a council, one of the things I think that kind of reassured us kind of this round was that there's discussion was, I guess in the past, you know, it was really no savings guarantees. Like you could opt in and then if the rate went up, we would be stuck above the national grid round. Now, so individual consumers, you know, the good thing about this plan is that it sort of sets a cap. It's, you get that rate, maybe that cap is lower than national grid, that's really what the track record's been. But if there's, you know, the price is really volatile right now, so if somehow national grid's price a year out from now is 20% lower, then people could opt into that. I mean, that's still the possibility. We're not restricting people if in fact that circumstance, which we, you know, hasn't happened but could happen, that's still, people could opt out in the future. That's clear, right? So.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think right now is a perfect example of that. National Grid's rates are, as you said, are up at about 33 cents. Many of our programs are, you know, half that or even lower. And, you know, they're honoring, the suppliers are honoring that contract. People are able to join at the contract rate. So it's sort of working exactly as intended.
So, but sort of our dilemma is that if the suppliers now, you know, 6 months from now, they might offer at 30 cents. But if National Grid goes from 33 to 27, that's something, so that's, our rate may be higher than 18 cents per kilowatt hour or whatever, but at least there's a cap of whatever that is, and when we put out the bid, and we would want that, we're only gonna accept that bid unless it's lower than the National Grid rate at that time, so that's it. Yeah, so I think that's good in that, you know, at least we'll have that guarantee, and if prices go down, we can take it, people can take advantage of that, so thank you, Greg.
Any other questions? So
I see Councilman has one
Oh,
more
I'm
thing.
sorry, I
and
didn't
I'll
know,
make a
I
motion.
shut your mic off because I thought it was, I didn't know you had a second. Sorry, Councilman.
I appreciate the chance to ask a second
Yeah, no,
question.
I didn't see it. I thought-
It's actually more of a comment, just to say that I think as we start to do some of the outreach and get the word out about this, I know folks are gonna be impatient and hoping that we can get it on board as soon as possible, which I think most people are gonna be understanding that it just takes some time, but if we could match this or pair this with some outreach around maybe the utility assistance that's available, or the fact that we have this housing stability office that can kind of help people in the meantime, just to sort of get people feeling like the city's there to help work through this year. Because I know we do have those resources and not everybody knows about it. And if there's a way that we could, you know, either, like I said, when we do outreach on this, mention those things or do a separate mailer or something just to, so that folks understand that we're gonna help them in the meantime. And also, this is worth getting excited about for next year.
Absolutely. I know that wasn't a question, but if I could just respond to it real quick. We've paired public outreach on this with public outreach on Mass Save, which has programs to help people lower their energy bills very quickly, much more quickly than this plan is going to be able to at the end of 2023. And information about the Office of Housing Stability, LIHEAP, the discount rate, all of those things. We're really trying
And
to...
lead service lines.
What?
And lead service line removal too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had one more question too.
Hold on, Councilman, are you all set?
I'm good, thank
All right, Council O'Malley.
So you got me thinking about how much better the rate is. And I understand that we can't opt in as an entire city until maybe the end of next year. Can individual ratepayers join you now? Is it, because you had said that some ratepayers are already picking their own supply. So is the way that individual people can do that ahead of time?
So this program, you can't opt into it yet because it doesn't exist yet. DPU has to study it and approve it and all that stuff, which is what's going to take the biggest chunk of time here. Individuals, I understand, do have the option to go find their own energy supplier and sign a contract with that supplier. I also understand that the Attorney General's office has expressed concern about those kinds of plans because consumers don't always understand what they're opting into or the terms of the contract they're agreeing to. And Patrick, please do chime in.
Yeah, sure.
If you have
No, I think that's all correct.
expertise to add there.
Yeah, that's all correct. I would say if someone doesn't want to shop, you know, and look for a better deal now, the state has a site that they put together. It's called Energy Switch MA. You put in your zip code and it shows you the offers that are available. So that's probably the best place to go to shop. But Emily's caveats are right on, and also what we would want to just make sure when you do that is if you sign up, just realize that if you're still in that program, when this program rolls out, you wouldn't be automatically enrolled, so you'd have to know to take action. So it can be a good place to look, but just make sure you're not locking in for a really high rate that, maybe it saves you a couple cents now, but depending on how long you're locking in for, if there are other terms, you got to watch out.
And is the trend higher electricity rates in the winter, lower, or is it just random every year? Is there a trend?
Generally, it's higher in the winter, lower in the summer. This is the highest winter we've seen in over a decade, so it's even more exaggerated. But yeah.
So now might not be the time to lock in a rate.
Even if we did have this plan approved from DPU next month, if we went out to bid, we would get really high prices, and that just wouldn't be the right time to start up the program.
Perfect, thank you.
So I'll end where we began. Councilor McDonald?
I just think this is such a triple, quadruple win for the city of Malden, and really thank you to both of you and to the other city staff and to our Energy Efficiency and Sustainability Commission for pushing this forward. Also thank former Councilor Dave Kamel, Ward 6, who carried this for a while, and yourself, Council President, who previously worked with the Energy Efficiency and Sustainability Commission. So it is a long line that has brought us here, and we are unfortunately not that close yet to the finish line, but we're hitting the 50-yard line pretty good, I think. So with that, I'll make a motion to adopt the motion as it's written in the. Did you read the motion, Clerk Lucy? Great. I'll make a motion to adopt.
So on Councilor, I don't see any lights. On Councilor McDonald's motion to order that the Malden City Council endorse the Malden Community Electricity Plan for the Municipal Electrical Aggregation Program and authorize submission of this plan to the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities for its review and approval. Seconded by Councilor Crowe. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, it's passed.
Thank you.
Check that off. Thanks for coming, appreciate it. Where are we? Next order of business.
Paper 488-22, resolved that the city engineer Yam Lip appear before the Malden City Council at the meeting on November 29th to provide an update on the signalization and lane striping project on Center Street, Route 60, and the same update be made available to the public.
Councilor Crowe for the paper.
Thank you, Mr. President, and obviously, our city engineer is not here today. He is not feeling well, so we will, if we pass this today, we'll have his presentation in 2 weeks. And this had come because we've been, the bus lanes on Center Street, I know that I continuously get calls on them, and with questions, and I'm trying to explain it, and then they said, well, I heard this, and Councilor Spatafor, who is a co-sponsor, are on the weekly or bi-weekly updates, and for a long time we didn't really have a lot of updates, and it really, the plan has shifted a bit from what we voted on when it came before us, and I just think that it is important to have our city engineer here to kind of really get us all on the same page of, what we planned to happen, what did happen, what didn't happen, and where we're going from there. So that we're all on the same page, so everyone doesn't have, I heard this, I heard that, I heard a little of this. So I think it's important for our community to hear what the updates are as well, and where we are, where they want us to go as a city.
Questions?
So, make a motion.
Hold on. Hold on, there's questions. Councilor O'Malley.
Yeah, thank you, and I thank Councilor Crowe for this. We had caught up before the city council meeting. I'd love to be added as a co-sponsor. I know we had been talking about getting an update. I think one of the surprises and miscommunications that we had as a council, and what we agreed upon, was that the lights would be done first before they put in the bus lanes. But for whatever reason, the city allowed it to go forward with and that's one of the reasons why we didn't put the paint down for so long after doing the grant. But for whatever reason, there must have been a miscommunication. The bus lanes were put down without ever doing the lights. And obviously, we went to the Traffic Commission because we were all very upset about that. And what the MBTA and the city learned is that some of the light switches are so old that the contractors that were working on them asked if they could keep them because they're like museum pieces, which shows how perilous our infrastructure is in the community. So it's great that there is the Build Back Better. There's we got a lot of federal funding coming in. We need to make sure that we are really upgrading this infrastructure regularly, because when things like this fail, they fail to the detriment of the entire downtown. What's really unique is that the Center Street, Main Street, Ferry Street area is all interconnected between the different lights, which was, I'm sure, revolutionary when it was first done, but because it's so old, makes it really, really prohibitive and challenging to fix. So my understanding is the city is currently negotiating a memorandum of understanding with the MBTA, and that would allow the city's lighting contractor to do the work. The challenge that we face with that is that in this global slowdown that we're having, a lot of things are back ordered. A lot of things are really hard to get in. So it is really, time is of the essence. Hopefully that MOU has been signed already. I think that that's probably some of the miscommunication that you're referring to, Councilor Crowe. But getting the project done ASAP is top priority, at least for me, and I'm sure the council.
Well, to that point, and so I don't want to go over Mr. Lip's presentation, is part of the MOU that on the updates that I've been on is the city is going to front the money. So before we can sign an MOU, we need to have a financial paper because it's a substantial amount of money that it needs to go through and that we vote on because it's going to be out of free cash. So we'll get the money back at some point, but that was what the T wants to do. So for us to use our own contractor and to pay them and then get reimbursed, because it takes them much longer to get any of the money done. So a financial paper is going to need to be able, we always have the money appropriated before we sign an MOU, which is why I think the community should know where we are and what we need to do, have to do, want to do, or where we want to go as a community. So that's why I think it's really important to have our city engineer here.
That's perfect. I know that there's a lot of ARPA money that is floating around. It seems like we have more money than we know what to do with nowadays. So hopefully a financial paper will come the same night that Mr. Lip comes, and we can act on this in a timely manner. Thank you.
Well, make a motion to, never mind.
Oh, sorry. Did you hit the light, Council? It's off, though. Council Simonelli for the paper.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since you brought it up, I don't want to keep beating this thing, that I wasn't here when this whole thing was enacted here. But it seems like a lot of things weren't done prior to the painting of the bus lanes, the appropriation of the changing of the signals so they could move. They can flow a lot easier, so it moves the traffic along smoother. And I went to a couple of traffic meetings, and they kind of went nowhere. But we're still having the constituents complaining. I know I am in my neighborhood, talking about you can't get from one end of the city to the other, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. But that's what I'm hearing. This is a trial basis. So there's a lot of questions that need to be asked. And before I appropriate any type of funding or put my John Hancock on any type of funding, I think we need to go back to the drawing board, because I don't even know where we are with this thing. Is it a trial program? It's supposed to be for a year? Because if it is, the year was up in July, and I'd like to change some of the stuff back to the way it was, particularly on Willow Street, because my neighborhood don't like that at all. And they were cool about allowing it to stay for the year that it was implemented for. But now that year has passed, and I don't want to, I wasn't here, so I wasn't part of it. but it just makes me wonder how that got that far without no one seeing that this was an issue as far as the traffic lights coinciding with one another to be able to move the traffic more smoothly across the city and, you know, implementing the paint on the roads. It just seemed like they appeared overnight. So it seemed like we kind of jumped a little too quickly. And now that we did, we're suffering from the fallout of it. And, you know, my neighborhood particularly is. And they've been very patient, my constituency. And I told them, look, you know, it's something that was implemented before I got in. I had that luxury of saying that I wasn't here when that was implemented. But I was told that it was a trial basis. So that trial has come and gone. But that puts us into, you know, a bunch of other things, you know, like who's paying for us to go to, so if I wanted to change Willow Street, let's say, for example, back to the way it was, who pays for that? Where do we find the funding for that? And I don't know about you, but that ARPA funding money seems to be very elusive. Nobody knows really how to spend it. It's not for this, it's not for that. So I'm at my wit's end with that. So I don't know what we can spend it on, what we can't spend it on. So, you know, this is a serious issue. And again, I know I've been beating it up a little bit tonight, but I didn't bring it up. I'm glad it was brought up, though, because it is something that we definitely have to go back to the drawing board and talk about. I think we can come to some happy medium, but I think it was haphazardly put forward. And, you know, some of the constituents are suffering from it. So I just know that I got to go with what my constituency wants, and they want Willow Street particularly changed back to the way it was. So it looks like that's the direction we're going down in Ward 7. So if you want to meet us out there with some cans of paint, we'll meet you out there next week.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Winslow.
No, I appreciate Councilor Crowe and Councilor O'Malley, you know, bringing this paper forward. I mean, I do think, you know, we do have to figure out how to move forward, not go backwards. I mean, that's just a reality. As we know, our infrastructure is in poor shape. This has been stuff that has been neglected by this city for decades. So just to put it on one vote of the council is really not fair. So, and moving forward, because our infrastructure is in such bad shape, sometimes we're gonna stumble. So I think that's just a reality we have to figure out. You know, I do, so I appreciate it. I mean, I think the other thing we think about, maybe just have the discussion with Mr. Yip, Mr. Lip, but, you know, we should think about a forum to have the MBTA back. I don't think maybe we should figure this out here, but to have the MBTA, because I think it was, so the thing surprising to me was that, you know, the traffic signal boxes were available for anybody to look at. And, you know, this was a project that was advocated strongly by the MBTA. I appreciate my fellow councilors were after a lot of intense discussions, willing to try this, and we did a lot of due diligence during this period, including coming up with a recommendation the signals be done first. So I think this is a good step. I think even in our approval, we said we should be evaluating this anyway. So it's about time. Even if everything went perfect, we should be doing this. But you know, we have a lot of traffic signals that are antiquated. We have, there's, like I say, there's literally millions and tens of millions of dollars this city can obtain in infrastructure money, but we have to be thinking forward and not backward and not going backwards. So how we do that is very important, and otherwise we're gonna miss out, and we're gonna be having these problems all the time. The next, you know, so that's the type of thing. We'll be ever behind and what other communities are receiving. So I say, you know, Revere, other communities have received, you know, millions, if not tens of millions of dollars to resolve the type of problems we're finding on Route 60 and Route 99. And if we're not leaning into that and pursuing the funds, we get nothing, and nothing gets better and traffic gets worse. So So we have to lean forward and not go back. Thank you.
Council Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just two things quickly. You know, I'm definitely supporting this resolve to have them come in. Councilor Winslow, I like your idea of having the T come in here also. I think another piece of this that needs to be put into the discussion is what has happened in the neighborhoods. Because the biggest complaint I get is the fact that all this traffic is getting pushed into the neighborhoods. And our secondary roads are really being used as cut-throughs, as well as some of, you know, our third and fourth roads. So it's definitely a problem that I do hear a lot about, and we need to be very cognizant of that. And just to touch on finances, and I have to check with Mr. Ranigan, but we were waiting for the Department of Revenue to certify free cash. So that, if you've noticed, there haven't been any financial papers coming down, because until free cash has been certified, we can't appropriate anything. So it was supposed to happen relatively quickly. I haven't spoken to him this week. It might have happened since I've spoken to him last, but there is a little bit of a hold up there until that happens. So, thank you.
Councilor Condon. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know about anybody else, but I get phone calls too. I see a lot of people in the course of a day, and I get a lot of complaints, all right? When you travel the city, what you see is our roads are condensed into one lane. You see a bus lane where there's hardly any buses in there, that they need to require a lane. You see bicycle lane, to be quite honest with you, I haven't seen more than 4 or 5 bikes in the course of the last year going down the bicycle lanes. So what happens is people want to avoid this catastrophe of trying to take Route 60 and get to the other end of the city. So what happens? They all go to your Medford Streets, your West Street, and where you used to wait for one traffic light to change. Now you have 4 or 5 changes, just trying to get through Highland Avenue from West Street. And the roads, on top of that, now we have a lot of road construction, you know, and I thank the 6th floor for that. But with that comes a little pain, where you don't know which way to go. There's detours all over the place. But that's all I get is complaints about, why did you do this? Well, I didn't vote for it, but I do remember a few things, okay? And one of the things I remember, it's not very often my mental capacity reaches this level. But I'm on a roll.
You're on a roll.
I specifically remember the MBTA saying that they were going to update the signalization in this city, all right? And they lied to us. So what's going to happen now? We're going to go through this winter. Now, they got their bus lanes and bike lanes down, all right? Now, we're going to plow these roads, and you watch what happens to these bike lanes and bus lanes when they put their plows down and try to plow these roads. Now, our part of the deal was to upkeep these lanes. Well, you know what? The MBTA got a good deal, because that's all they had to do was pay to put them in. Now we get, for the next 50 years, every time they get torn apart by our plows, we're going to have to go in there and pay to fix them. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a mess. You know, Councilor Winslow's right. We have to keep moving forward, all right? What's done is done. But this has happened numerous times when you get promised by the faceless bureaucracies that they'll take care of all the signalization. That's crap. They haven't done anything with the signalization. Now they're going to throw it back on us, and we're supposed to straighten it out. When supposedly they're the professionals that have come up and straighten it out and they're nowhere to be found now, because they got what they wanted. So I'm glad I didn't vote for that. I know Barbara Murphy didn't vote for that. And I don't know what we do to straighten this out, but they should be brought to task, because they didn't tell us the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Councilman Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not really sure I actually want to follow Councilor Condon. That was well said. I'm not going to be up here defending MassDOT or the T. I think most of you saw me on the news for most of August talking about their shortcomings. I guess what I'm feeling like is that, we took a bold step here. We did something that was transit forward, climate forward, trying to put our transit riders, our pedestrians, and our non-single occupancy vehicle travelers first, which is not our usual practice. And I think that was a stretch for us. Sometimes when you do things like that, you find out the ways that you didn't have complete information or what's not working, and we have to be responsive to our constituents. I have a lot of cut-through traffic in my ward. It's around the schools, it's around the parks. I wake up every day basically in fear of hearing something really, really bad happening because of the aggressive driving and how our vulnerable, kids, elders, people that have mobility challenges are just not, you don't stand a chance out there with the way the driving is. And we need to get a handle on how we can make our roads safer, and that's really how I'm looking at this. I do think, however, that as elected officials, ultimately the buck stops with us and the mayor and the administration. And if there's money that needs to be spent on things that we should have been doing all along, I think it's a tough choice that we may have to make. I would be thrilled if the state reimbursed us for that. What I heard at that traffic commission was that our equipment was so unexpectedly out of date that it isn't something that you would have even checked on, that there's a baseline of what your equipment should be kept up over the years that they were assuming, and that wasn't done. Probably nobody up here was around when any of those decisions to fund or not fund those signals were made. I mean, it's, as Councilor Winslow said, it's decades and decades ago, but I think it's up to us to make the tough choices. We have to write that. We can't make any effective decisions about our roads if the infrastructure isn't there for us to have just as a baseline. We need traffic signals that work in order to be able to tinker with those signals, right? We need data to be able to understand what's working and what's not. You can't get data if you don't have signals that aren't measuring the traffic. So I guess I would just encourage us to, face the reality that we have and be prepared to make some tough decisions, because I think there is money that's gonna need to be spent. I say that not just for the signals, but for the staff. We've hired, I'm fully in support of this. I think Yem has been a great hire. I think our transportation planner has been a great hire. We need to rely on their expertise and bring them in. I'd love to have the T come in as well and understand a little bit about where we go from here. But we've put the money into putting these professionals in place to be able to help us, to give us the data to understand who's using our roads, what's broken, what needs fixing, and then we have to find the money to do that. So I'm not saying this is gonna be easy, but I think to go backwards would be a mistake, and I think we need to own as a city that we maybe dropped the ball years and years ago and have to rectify that before we can make effective decisions grounded in data moving forward.
Thank you, Council. Council O'Malley the second time. Sorry.
Thank you. And just because I don't want the administration or YEM to feel like they're being caught off guard. When they come before the council, it would be great to understand where the MOU is, the Memorandum of Understanding, because the MBTA has been ready to pay to do these lights for a year now. And
false.
And we had to
False.
they are gonna pay for it. It's not false.
It's not a year, Council.
It's
It's not a year, Council.
Well, if I could finish.
Well, I don't like
Please
when
don't
you
interrupt
lie,
me.
though. I don't like when you lie.
Please don't interrupt me, please. So again, and another thing we need to understand is why was the paint allowed to go on the ground before the lights? That was the city of Malden's call. And none of us, including myself, have any idea why that was allowed to happen. The lights were supposed to be done first. The MBTA, to Councilor Condon, the MBTA hasn't lied. They are willing to pay and will pay for all of the work that needs to be done over and above what they expected. The holdup now is signing an MOU, which would either, one, let the MBTA do the work with their contractors and we wouldn't have to pay anything, or prioritizing speed and getting this done as soon as possible, and having the city's contractors do it, front the money, and then the MBTA will reimburse us. So it would be great, I know we have the mayor's chief of staff in the room. If we can get an update, has the MOU been signed? I think I definitely want to know, I'm sure the council wants to know, and the community wants to know, do we have an agreement with the MBTA to get the lights done?
Do you want me to give the update? I would
I
love
was
to
going
give the
to
update.
say, no, the MOU has not been signed again because it is tied to, the city has to upfront the money, so an appropriation needs to come down first.
Or not, the MBTA can pay for it, and they would do it with their contractors. So that's another route. If we are not looking to spend the city's funds to get it done quicker, and we want to delay this, then we can have the MBTA do it. But that is not a decision that needs to be held up. It's in the mayor's hands. And I would like the mayor to take action and not delay this any longer than it needs to.
Oh, I love the political game you play,
No,
Councilman.
no, it's true.
I can give you the update. You want to hear the update? You asked for the update. Let me give you the update.
Let me just clarify.
It's not in the mayor's hands.
The city council sets policy.
Yeah.
And the mayor is the executive executes.
Okay.
For whatever reason, this was executed in a manner that the lines were put down on the street first and the lights weren't done.
So you're going to blame the mayor's office for the lights? Is that what you're telling
My
me?
question is, why was the paint put down before the lights?
We don't know, Council, but you know what I'll do? I'll get a Freedom of Information Act because I have a suspicion that somebody in this council had a conversation with somebody. So let me give you the facts, because I pulled your presentation that you gave a year ago, which has not been discoverable because you didn't pass it in, but I happen to get a copy. There's nowhere in your presentation that says that the MBTA, that we're going to get reimbursed. It was the MBTA is going to pay for everything. And the reason why we're discussing an amendment.
And they're still ready to do that.
Oh, great.
Well, why are we not doing that? Why hasn't that been done?
Can I finish?
Why haven't we allowed the MBTA to do their job?
Because, what do you mean?
Why are we not letting the MBTA do the lights? That's been like that for a year. Why is there no MOU for a year now?
Counselor, you're completely off base. And if you're going to lie to the public, that's fine. Just don't lie to myself and Councilor Crowe.
We're not lying. I would rather we don't yell over each other. We have the individual in the room. Marie Louise is in the room.
She's not on the calls. I can tell you.
She represents the
It
mayor.
has nothing to do with the mayor's office.
Absolutely, it's the executive.
Can I give you the update? Because me and Councilor Crowe on the call since June 1st all the way up till August. Do you want me to give you the timeline? Because me and Councilor Crowe, not the mayor, were on the meetings. Every meeting. We didn't miss one meeting. So for the first 3 months, Councilor, June, July, and August, there was no discussion, there was no update, because the MBTA, to your earlier point, said, oh, that's funny, your stuff is so old it should be in a museum. They didn't go out to inspect it. So that is nobody on this council's fault. I completely agree. The MBTA did not give us an update till August. The person representing the MBTA on this calls also left in that time frame. There was no MOU given to the city of Malden till about 4 weeks ago. And the reason why we have an MOU is because that requires them an agreement to pay for it up front, Councilor. If they pay for it, we don't need a member of understanding. The second part, Council, real quick, is there's 2 MOUs. The other MOU says that we're going to update that lane every 3 years and repaint it and make it free of potholes. That was nowhere in the original presentation, and it cost anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000. So before we sign the MOU, we're going to come down with the traffic engineer, and we're going to walk through the timeline and explain what was told to us by you, because you're the one who gave the presentation, and what happened in reality.
100%. I agree with the 100%.
But the mayor, you keep on blaming the mayor. Let me defend the mayor.
If I can clarify.
No, let me finish.
You said my name, so I'm going to be able to respond.
But you weren't you were on one call.
No, that's a lie. That is a lie. Absolutely.
You on one call. You on one call.
That's not true at all.
Council, you on one
the
call.
question is, why is the city council expected to execute? Why are we expected to do the mayor's job? We are not the executive.
Because we have to come up with $250,000.
We absolutely do not.
Yes, we do.
The mayor's staff, represented by the city engineer, by his chief of staff, should be involved in this discussion. And maybe that's why it was not executed correctly. But again, the lines and the paint should never have gone down on the ground before the lights.
You're absolutely. We should have never voted for it because you made a presentation that you originally made. It was completely lies and made up. And the second thing, Council.
That's not true, actually.
Yes, it is.
So again, if you could stop interrupting me. Again, like you said, there needs to be no MOU, and the MBTA can pay for the lights if the city of Malden, through the mayor's office, the executive, gets it done.
And we agreed to pave it every.
No, as you said, if the MBTA can pay for the lights.
There's 2 MOUs.
Exactly.
Can I ask for a point of order? Can I ask for a point of order? I had my light on before Councilor O'Malley, and I hadn't had a chance to comment
And
yet.
I will defer to Councilor McDonald. Thank you.
I had a comment about traffic on side streets, but instead, I want to just, could we maybe just vote on this and then continue this, like bookmark this conversation, continue it with the city engineer who can lay out the timeline, and then we can talk to him and the mayor's staff about this when they come before us as we're requesting them to do?
Well, I think you have discussion.
There's still lights on, Counselor.
There's still lights on, so I mean, I have some discussion before we vote. I'd like to have discussion first. Like I said,
My light was on too. I don't
Yeah,
know
your
if
light's
it's
on, yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
Councilor McDonald still has the floor.
So the one comment I was gonna make about side streets is that I've had some conversations with our city transportation planner about the fact that a number of these apps, Google Maps and Waze, are directing people onto our side streets. And there may be some additional things we need to do to communicate with the apps to set traffic regulations about local traffic only at certain times that can help prevent the apps from directing people on, because there are a couple of streets where they're really getting hit hard. And I had a whole list that I was sharing with them that had come across, and the residents are. So I just wanted to flag, there's another set of things I think we should be doing with the transportation planner about trying to limit this dangerous traffic down residential streets. And I'm happy to encourage us whenever is appropriate to vote on this resolve and continue it later.
Hold on. Councilor McDonald still has the
I'm
floor,
done,
then
I'm done,
Councilor
I'm done.
Simonelli, then Councilor Hayes. That's how the order goes. You all set, Councilor? Thank you. Councilor Simonelli, you have the floor.
thank you,
Then
Mr. President. Yes, listen, again, I'm a Johnny come lately here on this, but, I'm getting the ripple effect here. And you take Lisbon Street, for example, if that's what we're gonna talk about, secondary streets being utilized. Lisbon Street, because of the situation going on Route 60 and the situation that happened on Willow Street with pulling the pocket out from the curbs, what's happening now is you can't take that right to get onto Route 60 from coming off of Willow Street. And you got people coming from Newland Street, housing development, and the Malden Street apartments, and they can't get out. So what they're doing is, and the other traffic that's coming down from Cross Street that usually comes that way, is it'll either bottleneck there at the corner and start to go all the way past where the old share law drug is as far as traffic is concerned. That never used to be like that, ever. Or people are getting aggravated and they're flying down Lisbon Street. And I'm talking flying down so they can avoid that light, so they can get up to the top up there. And then you got other cars coming in from Route 60 taking the left at the carrier place that's trying to avoid that light as well. And I don't know about anybody else, but I've got little kids crossing. We all sit up here and talk about the low and moderate income stuff, right? That's my neighborhood, remember? Those are those kids that are crossing those streets. Now they gotta put their life in their hand to go across Lisbon Street to get on to, and then once again to cross over to Route 60 to go to school in the morning. And I just don't see where the payoff is to put those kids and those families' lives in danger at this point.
I have a point of order here. This resolution relates to Route 60, not to Willow Street. This is out of order. It's not on the agenda.
Council, I don't care what you're talking about. It's not out of order. It has to do with Route 60. It has to do with Route 60. It comes right down to Willow Street. Come on now. You just don't like it. The fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, it's Route 60, so it's in order. It's in order, Counselor. It's in order. Now, I'm asking this. Well, he yells. I got to overstep him. I mean, someone got to control him. I have the floor, do I not? I got the floor, Counselor.
It's related to Route 60, Counselor.
It's related to Route 60.
It's not? Are you
Come
telling me
on
it's
now.
not?
Enough with you. I know. Just listen. I didn't say you did it.
All right. Enough. All right.
So I got the floor then. Thank you.
Relax.
Route 60. I was relaxed.
No, you won't.
I was.
Okay.
Now, what I'm saying is that that's a problem. And I ask, and I'm only asking, and I'd like to have it answered, and I haven't had it answered yet. Is there a trial basis for this program? Yes or no? Because that's all I've been hearing since I got in office, is that there is a trial basis.
No.
A lot of people up here have been telling me that that's a trial basis.
No.
So it's not. So it's here to stay. So I think the people should know that.
Based on what the MBTA wants, it's a 3-year deal. They want it to be signed.
Oh, so it's not. It's a 3-year deal.
That's what they're asking for.
Yeah, me too.
That's what we thought too.
I'm just amazed of the fact that this council no offense, guys, had taken up this paper with all the flaws in it to allow what has happened with no answers and a lot of mixed messages to your constituency. That's all I got to say. It's shameful.
Thank you. Councilor Hayes.
Thank you. I would like to second,
Thank you.
yeah, sure. I would like to second your motion.
seconding Councilor Crowe? Is that what you
I am
also-
seconding Councilor Crowe's. But yeah, we need to have more discussion, and we need to have funding and move forward with infrastructure funding. But I also would like to take a moment to ask again if we could have our norms and rules that you had said that we were going to, because it's so obvious that we need it. We can't be yelling. I could concentrate. I'm needing to block my ears here. It's unprofessional, and so I just would like to ask if we get that going, because
Yes.
we need it. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor,
I think it's Councilor Crow's.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
was it Councilor Crowe? I'm sorry, seconded by Councilor McDonald to have the resolve that the traffic engineer, Yum Lip, come before us in 2 weeks to present an update on the signalization and striping project on Center Street and Route 60, and give an update to the public, available to the public. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Next order of business.
Paper 489-22, resolved that the Malden City Council calls for an update of Stadium and Athletic Commission rules and regulations related to permitting of fields, parks, stadiums, or other recreation facilities.
There are several sponsors. There's Council Winslow, Council Colin, Council Cologne Hayes, I'm getting tired. Councilor Murphy and Councilor O'Malley. Who wants to speak? Councilor Winslow for the paper.
Yeah, just to follow up, a few weeks back, I introduced a paper related to the Stadium Commission and our permitting to allow enforcement of permits. And that was referred to Rules and Ordinance Committee. And during those discussions, I explained that there was an effort to both update the ordinance, but also to have the Stadium and Facilities Commission update their guidelines on permitting. So I put in this paper as much to allow the council kind of to know what we're asking of the recreation coordinator and the Stadium Athletic Commission. So the resolve, I'll read it, is that be it resolved by the City Council that the recreation coordinator be invited to attend the Rules and Ordinance Committee to discuss the rules and regulations relating to the use and permitting use of fields, parks, stadiums, and other recreational facilities. So that the council calls on the Stadium and Athletic Commission by March 1st, 2023 to review and update its schedule of fees and regulations for facilities to establish standards for the size and makeup of groups that must obtain permits for frequent, regular, or seasonal use of facilities, establish opportunities for free and open public use of Malden's such facilities to provide Malden residents of all ages use, to establish total annual hours of any particular fields. Any particular fields may be used to prevent overuse and ensure such fields remain in good and usable conditions, and for fees for groups of users that are not municipal organizations in order to collect revenue proportional to the fair share of the routine costs necessary to maintain such fields in good and usable condition, irrigation, reseeding, and aeration. So that's just asking, right now, the Stadium and Facilities Commission has rules related to permits. They have fees. We're just asking them to update those things based on that. And then finally, to the extent we are collecting fees, the resolution calls for the Controller of Accounts, Chuck Rannigan, to report on whether the city can establish a revolving fund to receive all fees from the use of fields, parks, and stadiums or other recreational facilities, and for fines and penalties collected in enforcement of those park rules and regulations, and direct those revenues to be expended only to maintain such facilities. So that's the resolution that's been introduced. And so, as it came up in rules and ordinance, I think, we heard from Councilor Sika, and I've heard from Councilor Simonelli, and I have the same issue in Trafton Park where we have groups that are coming in to use parks on a regular basis that are not applying for permits. So right now, one of the things are the rules the stadium facility and recreation facility they have rules about applying for a permit, but there's no requirements or standards on when you have to apply. So that's one of the things we think that's necessary so that groups understand when they need to apply for a permit. Because right now, there's privileges you get from applying for a permit, but there's no requirement to actually apply for a permit. So that's one aspect. You know, as we talk about, the other thing was, you know, in context, it's come up in context of as we're talking about parks and open space, of balancing the needs of athletes versus neighbors. So just considering that our parks and open space should have some time allotted to the neighborhood. So that's one of the things we want them to consider, because right now their rules only focus on permitting facilities and not what times facilities should be free and open to use by the public. So that's something that's worthy of consideration. You know, as we were about to invest, you know, millions of dollars in Dever Park, in Kerstead Park, in Trafton Park, all in upgrading grass fields. You know, one of the things we've heard, you know, particularly in context of Roosevelt as well, is that if you have grass fields, you really have to keep track of how many hours you're using those to keep them in good shape. So that's the type of thing we should be keeping track of that. It's not really clear that we're doing that in a clear way. And then ultimately, I say that to the extent that we have groups that are not Malden-based groups coming in to use our facilities, we should be making sure that their fees are relative to what we have to put in to just do the basic maintenance of aeration, reseeding, fertilizing, some basic care to make sure that that groups that have higher levels of use are investing money. So that's the basis of this resolution, and I appreciate my fellow councilors who've joined me in sponsoring that. And like I say, this is only a resolution. It's not the ordinance, but it is, you know, we do want to have the recreation director come in and talk about both this effort that we'd ask, and it's really to get it in place by the next, you know, sports season in you know, April or whatever. So so that's the purpose of it. I feel I'll let other councilors speak up.
Yeah, we have some lights,
questions.
Councilor Winslow.
Thank you, Chris.
Councilor Crowe.
And thank you, Mr. President, but I would like to be added as a sponsor because I do believe that, as you said, last week we really had a great conversation in rules and ordinance around this issue, and a lot of things kind of came up, what about this, what about that, and I do think this is a fantastic step forward, so I'd like to be added as a councilor and appreciate you bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Karen Cologne-Hayes.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to sponsor this, and also just wanted to add that it'll be great to get some data about how much use, like you were saying, we need to get a handle on some real information about how much our parks are used and who's using them, so that we can hopefully have grass at all of our parks and know that we can manage it. So I really think this is great, and hopefully that our Parks and Rec committee, and also Councilor Simonelli has a committee as well working with the parks. Maybe we make sure that we all talk with each other so that we're not duplicating work. That would be great. So thank you. Happy to sponsor.
Thank you. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no problem with this resolve. The only thing is you just come out of ordinance a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago. I think they need a little more time to get things pointed in the right direction so they can move forward. You know, it seems like maybe February or early March will be the time where they'll be able to come in here and tell us what direction they've decided to go. I think they're fully aware that it's the wish of the council to move in this direction, but I think they might need a little more time to put something together for us. Thank you.
I just would defer to Chair Crow, or whoever the next chair would be, that set that. That's particularly, I was hoping by the end of the year, but that's why I put the March 1st date, just to kind of be, you know, give them extra time. And I know Director Levine indicated that they were busy right now, so that's why I wanted to kind of give extra time, so that's, you know, we're trying to be fair, but want to get it going, so.
Okay, any other questions, any other lights? Seeing none here, and I would like also to be added, clerk, to the resolve, if it doesn't matter, to the sponsors. I think we've seen this happen before, where, when they did the schools over, even before I became a counselor, that we had a lot of influx of outside, in good organizations that needed the space and wanted to use the modern-day space, and, you know, sometimes that wear and tear cannot be covered by the rental costs, and I envision the same thing happening now. Some organizations, both in the city and out of the city, you know, we're doing a lot of parks over right now, and as the parks become more updated and more spacious and have more accommodations, we're gonna see more and more, some of our neighbors come over and ask for this, and you know, we certainly want to be good neighbors, but the same token is, they're made for the residents of the city, and we should always make sure they get their time. So I think this is a good policy going forward, especially as we're investing, you know, millions of dollars in our green space in our park. So happy to sponsor it. All right, on Councilor Winslow, Karen Colon Hayes, Barbara Murphy, and Ryan O'Malley, and I think Councilor Crowe, myself, and anybody else who wants us to be added as a sponsor. I think Councilor Connor said that as well. On paper, Council's motion to pass resolve, seconded by Councilor Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Resolve is passed. Next order of business.
Committee reports, paper 490-22, committee report license petitions, papers 437 to 451 of 2022. The Standing Committee on License, to whom is referred the following papers, have considered the same. Make the following report, that these papers reported out favorably to the full council, and after the council accepts the committee report, Council Seeker prefers that I read all the licenses at once.
Okay, on Council Seeker's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Council Seeker for the committee.
Thank you, Council President. The License Committee met last week now, I think? I don't even remember. Last week, to discuss the petitioners. We had compliance in, there were no issues or any concerns. These are all renewals. So it was reported out favorably from the full License Committee that these petitions be granted. Make a motion to grant.
Okay, any questions? Council Winslow? Okay, Councilor Hayes, is your light on?
Oh.
Karen Colon Hayes, okay. Council Seeker's lights, any questions on the licenses? We're gonna read them all at once. Any questions for Council Seeker, a motion to grant?
It's paper 437-22, petition amusement machines, Lodge 1910, Loyal Order of the Moose, 562 Broadway, one machine. Petition amusement machine, Italian American War Vets, Post 16 of 40 Oakland Street, 4 machines, it's a renewal. Petition amusement machines, Town Line 10 Pin Corp., DBA Town Line Luxury Lanes at 665 Broadway, 25 machines, it's a renewal. Petition amusement machines, GLS Associates, Inc. of 50 Holden Street, 6 machines, it's a renewal. Petition Class 2 license for AGM Auto Sales, Inc. of 160 Eastern Ave, renewal 24 cars. Petition Class 2 license for Maxima Auto Sales Corp. of 105 Broadway, renewal 34 cars. Petition 2 license for GP Motorcycle Supply of 420 Broadway, renewal 4 motorcycles. Petition Class 2 license for Broadway Auto Sales at 628 Broadway, renewal 8 cars. Petition Class 2 license for John's Service at 200 Beach Street, renewal 15 cars. Petition Class 2 license for Richards of Motor Cars, Inc. of 672 Broadway, renewal 80 cars. Petition Class 2 license for River Auto Sales, Inc. of 77 Eastern Ave, renewal 21 cars. Petition extended hours license, Mayor Donuts, LLC, DBA Duncan's of 200 Commercial Street, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days, it's a renewal. Petition extended hours license, CMB Madeiras, Inc., DBA Duncan of 57 Eastern Ave, 24 hours, 7 days, it's a renewal. Petition extended hours license, Ayers and Helene's Donuts, Inc., DBA Duncan's of 424 Main Street, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days, it's a renewal. And petition extended hours license, Honeydew Donuts, 691 Eastern Ave, 5 o'clock a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days, it's a renewal.
Okay, any questions on those licenses to grant? Seeing none and hearing none on Councilor Seeker's motion to grant, seconded by Council Winslow. All those in favor? All those opposed? Licenses are granted. I will ask, next order of business, I will ask for a vote to recuse myself for the next portion of the committee, which is going to be the Committee Report on Personnel and Appointment. I can't make the motion, somebody else got to make the motion. I need a motion to be recused.
I'll make a motion.
You got to say it.
I make a motion for Councilor Spatafor to recuse himself from the next paper.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to allow Councilor Spatafor to recuse himself from the next, for the paper 49-22, seconded by Councilor Simonelli. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes.
Yeah, but I just.
Condon.
Yes.
Crow. Linehan. McDonald. Murphy. O'Malley. Seeker.
Yep.
Simonelli. Winslow. Passes 9-0. 9-0.
Councilor Murphy will take the chair.
Wait till they return. Okay. We are back here. Okay. Yes, no, I was just trying to get Council Simonelli's. Okay. All right, clerk, if you'll read the next 491.
Paper 491-22, Committee Report, Personal Appointments, Paper 417-22, order that Carol Ann Desiderio, 440 Lebanon Street, Malden, be moved out unanimously to be interviewed by the full council for the position of city clerk to fill the unexpired term created by the pending retirement of Greg Lucy, said term to commence January 5th, 2023, and expire on February 28th, 2024, upon council confirmation. The Standing Committee on Personnel Appointments, to whom is referred paper number 417, series of 2022, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor Simonelli's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Councilor Simonelli for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. Before I even start, I would just like to say that, once again, it's a real pleasure working with the Personnel and Appointments Committee. I think we've done a lot of good work this year. It's a very busy committee. People are always nipping at our heels to hurry things up. When we just get through one project, there's another one coming our way. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? I can. Thanks. Thank you. But anyway, I'd like to, thank the committee for their cooperation on all the endeavors that we take on here with the Personnel and Appointments Committee. So on this paper, number 417-22, after reviewing the 6 resumes submitted for the clerk's position, it was clear that Carol Ann Desiderio, did I say that right? No, I'm sorry. What is it? Desiderio. All right. I never use it. Thank you, though. Was the most qualified applicant by a significant margin. While we typically recommended 2 or more candidates to interview with the full council, we felt it would be disingenuous to invite a second or third candidate to interview with the full council when Carol Ann was such a clear and leading candidate. We voted unanimously to invite her to the interview with the full council for the position of city clerk and give the full council the opportunity to decide if she is the candidate we need. And I will say, from being the chairman here, I say this a lot. I go up to the clerk's office a lot, a few times a week sometimes, and I got to see that office make a transformation and under the leadership of Greg Lucy and also Carol Ann. I would see Carol Ann out there with a fresh, new, diverse crew of people that pretty much didn't know anything about how the city clerk's office ran, and molded those folks. And I watched them this past election time, and they moved precisely. They were on top of their game. They were great with the constituents that had questions that came to the window. And I watched these things, and I saw it. And it was under the tutelage of Carol Ann. And I just want to say that we appreciate all the hard work and things that you've done up in that office leading up to now. And you're well-deserved of this position as far as I'm concerned as the chairman of this committee. But that being said, I will leave it open to the full council, Madam President.
Okay, all right. Just didn't know if you had to read that. Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Desiderio, for coming before us this evening. So we'll open, this is the interview process for the whole city council. So we will open the process up to anyone who would like to ask Ms. Desiderio a question. And I will do my best to keep this in order. So Councilor Wins, pardon? Oh, this is the, I'm sorry, I didn't speak loud enough, I'm sorry. Okay, this is the interview process, okay, for Ms. Desiderio. So I'm gonna open this up to the full city council to ask any questions that they might have of Ms. Desiderio, okay? And I will do my best to keep it in order. I would appreciate it if everyone would kind of ask one question, and then we'll come back for second and third questions, just so everyone has the opportunity to ask a question. So, Councilor Simonelli, you are the first one here, but you just spoke. Did you have anything you wanted to ask her before I move on to the next person?
No.
Okay. So, Councilor Winslow.
Carol Ann, I know this is the second time around for you. This is you. I really appreciate the professionalism that both Clerk Lucy and yourself have really shown. It was a very difficult decision we made last time, and you showed real professionalism in how well effectively you two have worked together. But my hope was always that we knew at some point the decision might be coming to another clerk, and that maybe a little sooner than I thought, but that's up to Mr. Lucy. But I appreciate you showing such professionalism over the past few years, and working with someone who, the council had selected in front of you, but to take that time to get more ready to take this responsibility on. So I know you've done a great job in terms of the election stuff, and that was one of the things that was done. And in a time when officers are really controversial across the country, so I appreciate that. Now, just in terms of the responsibilities related to the council, what do you see as the challenges, and particularly this era of transparency and a lot of public records requests, what do you see as the challenges for the office of city clerk in that atmosphere? Thank you.
Oh, one moment. Stereo. There you go.
Okay. Before I speak directly to your question, I just want to thank you all for having me here tonight. Councilor Simonelli, your very kind words. I'm very proud of my staff upstairs, and so I thank you for always recognizing them when you speak about us in our office. I don't take lightly the fact that I stand before you today as the only candidate that you're choosing to interview. So I hold that very importantly to me, so thank you for that. Councilor Winslow, you're right. I was up here in front of you guys just about 3 years ago now. I was smart enough to know, even back then, that a loss to Greg Lucy is still a win. I knew that my office was going to be in very good hands, and I knew that under his wisdom and his guidance, I was going to take advantage of every minute in time that he was able to give me, and he's been incredibly generous with his mentorship and sharing his knowledge with me, and I couldn't be more grateful for the time that I've had to just kind of prime myself a little bit more and polish my position a little bit more, which I've done over the past 3 years. So speaking directly about your question is absolutely, transparency is now a biggest thing more than ever, and I feel like that, as far as the city council piece of this job goes, that's huge. We have so many FOIA requests, we've got open meeting law violations, as you know, this is your history, so you know what I'm talking about. I just want to be super careful now and always moving forward to make sure that we're knowledgeable. Any new candidates that come on in the next campaign, who knows what the next cycle will bring, those people are knowledgeable with open meeting law violations, FOIA requests, how we do things correctly and properly according to law, as always, just like we do with elections. I would hold that same standard to the city council side of the job. It's just as important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Hayes. Oh, wait a minute, I just shut you off again. I've done that twice, sorry. There you go.
Thank you. Carol Ann.
Hello.
I'm so excited to see you up here. So I wasn't sure if we were going to be interviewing you tonight. I wasn't sure, so I'm not prepared with a question, but some come up. But I do want to say, we came in here together, shared offices where we spoke through the walls to each other. We worked on so many things together. I value your knowledge. I'm so happy to see you here and your perseverance. It has not been easy. You know, roads sometimes go like this. So I'm happy you're here. I'm happy they made the decision to only interview one person, even though I was very conscious. I even called Councilor Simonelli to make sure that it was transparent and that people understood that we did go through the process, that there wasn't anything, you know, going on behind closed doors, so that you wouldn't start off with any negativity. So I just want to say that out loud. Everything was followed, and I'm really excited to see you here. It's a little awkward with Greg up here, with Mr. Lucy up here, but I was going to ask anything that you think that you want to work on right away to either change or up, you know, grade in the office.
So, oh God, our office has come so far in the past year. I couldn't be more happy with the progress that we've seen. So I think the number one priority is just to keep building that camaraderie, the morale that's in the office, which is like at an all-time high right now. Most importantly, cross-training people, because people in my office tend to fall into a niche. It's kind of like a three-legged stool, my office, right? We've got elections, we've got city council, we've got vital records, and those things have to work in conjunction with each other for obvious reasons. And so sometimes people tend to fall into niches, and I don't want them to get put in their box. I want them to be able to be cross-trained so that we're more supportive of each other, we're covering each other when somebody needs help, because there's different periods of the year. Sometimes elections are really, really high, and the city council stuff is a little bit slower during the summertime, for example. So that's gonna be a high priority to continue with. I also would really like to spend some time concentrating on our vital records preservation, and maybe seeing if we can get some CPC funding or grants or anything like that, because we've got records in my office that go back to the 1800s. And once those records are gone, you know, obviously you can't get rid. So I'd like to maybe work on some preservation as a high priority moving forward, so that those records are there for generations to come.
Those are great, great answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hayes. Councilor Sika.
Did you say me?
Yes, Councilor Sika, sorry.
Just so everyone knows at home really quickly, these lights are not working properly this evening. So Councilor Spatafora and Councilor Murphy, normally they blink when we press the button, and for some reason they're going steady. So it's a little confusing for the presidents at the moment. So if you're wondering why they're kind of scrambling, and if we're not getting heard in the proper way, then don't take it too personal. They have no idea who is actually pressing the button next. I think it's actually going the opposite, to be quite honest, because I'm pretty sure I didn't press my button until after you.
Well, I think Councilor Crowe was before me.
Yeah, so I apologize, but She's just doing the best she can at the moment.
Let's
I'm
just do
going to
rapid
be.
fire questions.
Yeah, I'm going to be brief. I have one tiny little question, but for the most part, Carol Ann, I don't think there's anybody more deserving of this position than you. Especially your knowledge of the whole entire office. You've been in multiple positions, you know everybody's job, and I think that is going to be extremely important for you moving forward. You can basically help out with anything that's going on in that place. The only question I do have is, are you really sure you want to do this? Because you're going to become our babysitter. So that's the only question I have.
I raised teenagers. I think I can whip you guys into
absolutely
shape.
can. You absolutely can.
I take that back. It sounds a little cocky, but yeah.
I look forward to continue working with you in the
Thank
future.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilor Crowe. Thank you, Madam President. I'm so excited to see you here, Carol Ann. And you've always had leadership skills, but you really have honed those over the last year or two, I guess. I don't know. You always had an attention to detail. We see that in the elections, as Council Winslow had. And I think, you know, that's going to carry over into all the other areas. And I think when Clerk Lucy was out sick and you filled in for that one time, you really showed your skill in how to help manage and put together the agendas and, you know, move the meetings along in a fantastic way. So I'm so excited to be able to vote for you tonight.
Thank you.
Councilor Linehan.
Thank you. Carol Ann, it's so great to see you here tonight. I wasn't part of your last interview process, but I think I ran for office right after that happened, and I would just, one of the things we talked about in personnel is how all of us, our interactions with the clerk's office really set the tone for what elections and campaigns are like, and it's absolutely seamless and welcoming, and as you said, you never know each cycle what you're going to be up against and who's going to walk through that door, and I just want, I think the community maybe doesn't see that side of your job as much as we do, and it's a huge asset to Malden, to know that anybody that wants to kind of step up, that you walk them through it, you have a great process, and you never let us forget anything, and even when it gets to that kind of panicky week before the election, that's a real strength of yours that I just want to highlight for people that are watching, because I think it's a part of this job that is very, very stressful, and I think not everyone's well suited to, and I really think that plays to your strengths. So having said all that, I guess my real question that I'm wanting to hear about, I empathize with what you're saying about kind of having your staff specialize and then wanting to make sure that you cross-train. I think that is something you run across a lot in government, honestly. I think you try to run lean and you try to get people to specialize and really focus, but also want to make sure you have that redundancy. As you're doing that, how do you think about sort of the retention and inclusion aspects of helping folks build a career and feel not just that you're building a diverse team, but that you're building a team where inclusion and equity are a mindset, where people feel like they belong and can stay here and can build a career with Malden?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because I really do, and I'm not saying this because I'm standing in front of you, but I do really believe in hiring and promoting from within. Nobody ever wants to feel like they come to work every day in a dead-end job. So we're constantly touching base with our staff, seeing where they are, how comfortable they are, if they need help, making sure that they get that extra level of support. Sometimes they've come to me and said, I'm good with this now, can you show me something else, which is great, because you need to feed off that incentive and actually just give them as much as they can handle. So constant respect of the team, communication, touching base with them, making sure that they're getting that support and they're being brought up. All boats rise. What's the saying? In a high tide, all boats rise. And so hopefully that's what we're going for now. And I'm just always trying to comfort and welcome the staff in the office, to let them know that this is who we are now. This is the culture in this office now. We're going to keep this moving forward and just stay on a good momentum.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I just want to, not warn, but just tell everyone, when you press your light to speak, you're on, And that is kind of what Councilor Seeker was referring to, which is why, Councilor Cologne Hayes, I shut you off twice because I was trying to turn you on before I realized that you were always on. So you actually moved down a couple of times. I kind of pulled you back up. But just, if everyone would just be careful that you are all live, okay, if you've pressed your button, okay? So, Councilor McDonald, you are next.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, Carol Ann, I first just want to say that as a member of the Personnel and Appointments Committee, that the statement that our chair read is very true. That we did receive a number of applications. You were by far the most qualified and appropriate candidate, and so it's great to have you here. I have not had the pleasure of working with you as long as many of the folks on this dais, but you've been unfailingly organized, kind, responsive, and of course professional in all sorts of sticky situations that just I've had the chance to observe. So I do just want to applaud that and say I think that Malden will be in very good hands with your ethic and your approach to leadership at the helm. The question I want to ask you is one that I know you have deep thoughts and commitments about. I want to give you a chance to showcase some of that, which is about how the clerk's office engages our diverse city. As basically the doorway to democracy at City Hall, what have been some of the things you have worked on, things you'd be committed to working more on in this job to make sure that all our residents, regardless of their language or their cultural background or immigration status, if they're citizens, they can vote, and that everyone can get access to information at City Hall?
Yep, so that's something that we are working on now more than ever. So I've been in this particular department 10 years in April, and every year I go through an election cycle, and the mantra is always the same. You do the best you can with what you have, and then you try to make it better the next time around. And as I look back over the past 10 years, I really do think that we've done that. I think that's representative in our staff. We are much more diverse now than we ever were before. We have a lot of girl power in my office, in our office. A lot of languages, 5 different languages, and so we're using that as kind of a jumping off point to also help with translation services. We now do bilingual weddings because we've got the staff upstairs to come and help the clerk when he's doing a wedding, which is awesome. That's not anything that we've ever done in my time before, where we would translate in real time for people getting married. But first and foremost, obviously, the question speaks to our elections and what we've been doing to try to improve language. I've reported to you guys before with language awareness as far as the elections go. We did a great job in November. A big part of that has been this administration's commitment to giving us technology, giving us extra help. We've got a consultant in our office, Anna Say, that's helped us with bilingual outreach to the different community buildings in the city. So all of this moving forward, I think, like with every election, you do what you have right now, the best you can with what you have. And every time you try to do a little bit better. And I think that we've absolutely knocked that out of the park this year. So that's not going to end. We're just going to kind of keep rolling forward with that to make sure that we're staying in touch and offering the services that we can for all the different diverse populations in Malden.
And next cycle will include transliterated ballots into
And
Chinese
next cycle
for state
will
approval,
include
right?
Yes. We get a sign, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're waiting for the
We're
government,
almost
that's
there.
right. I'm premature, but yes, thank you for pointing that out, Clerk Lucy. But yes, that is something that we will be working on. So you all will get to see what your names look like written in traditional Chinese letters, characters. Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Councilor O'Malley?
Thank you very much. Caroline, it's great to see you here. I know we've been through a lot together, a lot of ups and downs over the last 7 or 8 years. It's been quite a ride, I think we all know. And you all know me. Normally, I would be concerned that we're only interviewing one person. But as my colleagues have said, you're so clearly the person for the job that I have no issues at all that we are only interviewing one person tonight. So I hope you know how much that really means to me and the message that says in terms of the confidence we have and I have in you in this role.
Thank you. It means everything to me. I don't take that lightheartedly, believe me. Especially since I appreciate our relationship, Counselor, where we're able to disagree with each other and ask each other questions and maybe not want to hear the answers that we wanted to hear, but that's not what this job is about. You don't get the answers that you want to hear. You get the answers that are in place for a reason based on state and federal law. And so you keep it professional, you move on, and you get the job done. And I look forward to doing that even more with you in the next few years.
If you saw my notes, you would have now know that you took the words out of my mouth. We do not always see eye to eye on every issue, but you are always a person of principle. I think that's something we both respect in each other, and we do what's best for the city the best way we know how, and that really means a lot to me. So thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one question. You know, as the city clerk, you're in a really special role. It's probably one of the most challenging roles. You have 11 bosses. You have 11 people that you report to. You help us develop policy that we promise our constituents who vote us in. And sometimes that policy conflicts with each other's policy agendas. How do you envision your role in the office managing that challenge of being fair to every individual counselor so that we can feel that whatever the result at the end of the day is, it was done fairly, and we can all have confidence in what the process was?
So you, in the past 10 years of my life, would not have seen me at a political fundraiser or with the lawn sign in my yard. Used to be very politically active, worked on multiple campaigns, but when I took this job, I knew that I had to remain completely trustworthy, unbiased at all times. You do not mess around with not being able to be trusted in this job, because if the voters in the city don't trust the way that I run an election, democracy, as we've seen, it doesn't work that way, can't work that way. So I always have to be super aware of my work ethic, my principles, my honesty, my integrity, which I stand on, to speak for me at the end of the day. Same thing with the city council. We may be writing policy, I don't have to agree with it, I have to help you get it right. I have to make sure that that ordinance makes sense and it can be passed and it can stand up to the test of challenges or whatever might happen in the future. And if we find that there's room for improvement, then we improve on it. But I think you've seen that, my ability to do that in the way that I've been running elections for the past 10 years.
I 100% agree, and I look forward to working with you for many years.
Thank you.
Councilor Condon, 1 second. Yes, just, you're on.
Thank you, Madam President. Carol Ann, congratulations. I'm part of the Personnel Appointments Committee, and I do have to say I've gone through quite a few city clerks, and rarely do we agree as a committee or even as a council so quickly and unanimously. But after we vetted the people putting in for the job and knowing the way you work and knowing the way that, and we know you were disappointed you didn't get it last time, but to see you just the way you worked with Clerk Lucy and took control of helping him as his right-hand person, I have a great deal of admiration for that. And I'm sure you're going to do a great job. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Counselor. The past 3 years have really been an honor. To come up under Karen Anderson and then get the benefit of working with Greg Lucy, it's just an experience that I would have never dreamed to have. It's been wonderful working in this office for the past 3 years.
Well, I do not see, does anyone have a second question, or we're good? Okay, so from the chair, what I would like to give you the opportunity before we move forward, is there anything that you would like to say to us this evening before we vote?
I will just reiterate what I've already said. Your faith in me speaks volumes. I will not let you down. I really appreciate the fact that I'm here tonight standing in front of you. I appreciate the time that I've had to work with you. Some of us go so far back, it was before we were even in this building and I was in this job. I'm only looking forward to moving on that and continuing forward, full speed ahead in the years to come, to help you, to help this city, and to bring this office right where it should be. So thank you so much. Thank you to the Personnel Committee for the work that you did in vetting these resumes. And I'm just really grateful for your faith in me and bringing me here tonight.
Thank you. Well, yes, Councilor McDonald.
I just wanted to, in that vein, give you the opportunity to say if there's anything is there anything that you need from us to be successful in the role, Carol Ann? Because we are politicians, and we're still your supervisor. And so I want to make sure that we are dedicated to your success in the role. And so if there are things that we can do to help you get started, I would really welcome, say, a year in, you to give us some feedback about how we're doing as your boss and what we can do to help you succeed in the role. Is there anything in that regard?
I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in January with the succession of a new city clerk along with the new council president. I think that those two people are going to have to work very closely hand in hand. And I am looking forward to learning from the knowledge, because some of you guys have been on this council for a very long time and you've got so much to offer me. In return, hopefully I have some to offer you as well. And so I'm really looking forward to building that relationship beginning in January and just hit the ground running on January 5th.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I will say from the chair, the one sad thing about sitting in this chair this evening is that I cannot make a motion in your favor. I have to entertain
I make a
someone
motion
here
to,
making a motion. Because I would love to be the one making that. So Councilor Crowe, we have a motion by Councilor Crowe to appoint Carolyn Desiderio as our new city clerk, seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes. Roll call.
Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Condon. Yes. Condon. Yes. Crowe.
yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald. Yes. Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley.
Yes.
Seeker.
Yes.
Simonelli. Yes. Winslow. Yes. 10-0, Carol Ann.
Thank you so much.
Go find Councilor Spatafor. Is Lisa here? Michelle or somebody. Find Councilor Spatafor. I'm sorry, say that? I don't have, I have no idea how to. Yeah, well, maybe Council Spatafor can figure it out. Right. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but everybody just was live all the time.
I even, maybe it's a mic setup. They're still live?
Yeah, you have to, so I warned everybody that.
It's live immediately.
Yeah, I'll have them look at it. So when you put the light on, it turns the speaker right on, okay.
That's why I've been putting.
I got it. All right. I didn't know. Okay. I guess we're gonna have a 5-minute recess? Pizza. All right, everybody. Obviously, it's congratulations on our order. We don't want to stop the festivities, but we're on page 6 of 9. So, and it's 10 o'clock. So let's keep everything going. Congratulations. Next order of business.
Paper 492-22, Committee Report Personnel Appointment. Paper 362-22, Mayoral Appointment, Paul Lee, 52 Lyle Street, as a member of the License Board. Said term to commence upon confirmation by the City Council and to expire on June 1st, 2028, to fill the vacancy of Francis Lynn, who has stepped down from the board. The Standing Committee on Personnel Appointment to whom is referred paper 362, series of 2022. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends the appointment out favorably to this full City Council.
On Council Simonelli's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Council Simonelli for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, wait, let me put your light. I guess they just work it. Hit the button.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, the committee recommends that this, that we confirm this paper. Come out of,
Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, on Council Simonelli's motion to receive, on Council Simonelli's motion, where am I? I lost my, to appoint, Paul Lee of 52 Lyle Street, seconded by Council Condon. Clerk will call the roll. We can do all in favor, right? All in favor?
all right.
All opposed? Paul Lee has been, appointed to the License Board. Congratulations, Paul.
Thank you, thank you.
I said Paul, not Chris.
Paper 493-22, Committee Report Personnel Appointment. Paper 435-22, order that John Colangeli, 9 Lynn Street, Malden, be appointed as a member of the Board of Health Commission. Said term to commence upon council confirmation and to expire on October 1st, 2023, to fill the vacancy of Shirley Magny Normalis. The Standing Committee on Personnel Appointment to whom referred paper 435, series 2022. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends the appointment out favorably to the full City Council.
On Council Simonelli's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Council Simonelli for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. And the committee recommends that this paper be moved out favorably to the full council. And I just want to say from the chairman seat on this committee, you know, I know Jack Colangeli, lives in my neighborhood, in my ward. I've worked with Jack on many occasions. I think I took his bomb class, when I was
I don't know, that's something to be proud of, but.
Special Services. Well, yeah, well, it taught me how to look out for suitcases and bags and stuff. But he did a great job, and I know that, you know, everything that Jack does, he does with pride and vigor, and he works really hard. And it's nice to see Jack back in the city fold, to have him do some good work. He's been around for a while, and he does a lot of good work for the city, no matter what department he's in. And it's just good to really see you coming back, Jack. Congratulations. Thank you.
I'm going to second his motion if he made one.
All right, we got a bunch of lights. So he didn't make one, but I take the second. So Council O'Malley had his light on first. Council O'Malley?
Yeah, I'll defer to Councilor Seeker for the second. I've always really enjoyed working with Jack, and I look forward to working with you on the Board of Health. The Board of Health, I think that it can be the most active board in our community. Obviously, there's a lot of quality of life issues in our community where the Board of Health can really help. You all know me, I've been harping about the rodent issue in our community for a long time, so really kind of getting on top of that, some of the problem properties that we're facing. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Murphy.
Yes, I just wanted to just touch on a couple of things that Mr. Colangeli brings to this particular commission, and there's a number of them. His work is bringing EMTs into the fire department, also heading up the emergency management team, and also making sure that Narcan was part of the fire department's protocols. So, you know, through his career and also owning a restaurant and realizing all the health issues associated with that. So he brings, you know, from his past jobs, a number of experiences that really play into all of the issues that, or some of the issues, because there's many issues that the Board of Health deals with. But I think, you know, he's going to be a great fit for that board, and, you know, we'll be able to utilize a lot of his past experience for the good future of the city. So, thank you.
Councilor Sika.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to say that, Councilor Simonelli, you make it sound like Jack's been in your ward all these years. You just got him with the new redistricting. He's been a Ward 8 resident for as long as I've been in office.
I mean, are we fighting over Jack Colangeli now?
No. I was trying to make light of this evening. It's been a little crazy. He was in Ward 2. Born in Ward 2. Apparently, we are going to fight over you, Jack, but no. I just wanted to say congratulations.
Where is he now?
There's nobody more deserving for this position. I think that you'll be great. Thank you.
Councilor Linehan for the Jack Colangeli show, I'm assuming.
Yes, I mostly wanted to just call out that he's been here all night. We've been here 3 hours, and he's been here in person. I just wanted to say thank you for that. I really enjoyed having the opportunity to interview and talk to you about this position. I was really impressed with what you were able to highlight from your career with the fire department, and also looking forward to what the health challenges are facing the community. This is definitely a high-stakes position. We've all seen that during COVID. So thank you for being willing to step up and for being here with us tonight. Fully support this appointment.
Councilor Crowe to bring in the tail end.
Thank you very much. I just want to say congratulations. And I was on the committee that was interviewing for a fire chief when Jack applied to be the fire chief, and he got my vote, he got all of our vote, and he really, again, brought lots of depth in, you know, to the position, and really where he saw things, he could bring things towards. And so I think he's going to do the same thing on the Board of Health, so congratulations, Jack.
Are we done with the canonization of Jack Colangeli?
He's not dead.
So before I entertain a motion, I do want to say a couple of things, and we went through Paul Lee and Jack Colangeli, but I really think both appointments really are a reflection, I think, of the city of Malden. We have an immigrant that moved to Malden, was transplanted, originally moved to New Hampshire. I know Paul Lee very well. His son and my son went to school together. They're very versed in the community. They're great people, very active, and new to Malden. He brings that talent and a fresh face to the liquor board, which I think is great. And then you have somebody like Jack Colangeli, which everybody up here has had their memory stories with, but has truly been a fixture in the city of Malden, both in terms of just being a great citizen, but also his role as deputy fire chief and then fire chief, and then opening of his own business. And that all comes through, you know, years of service. And I think, especially with the Board of Health and even the emergency management, you know, 5 or 6 years ago, there were positions that I don't think we interviewed the same quality we do now, and we probably didn't understand what they did, and to be quite frank, probably didn't care, right? Because they were just words on a document. But now, after the pandemic, and certainly the environmental concerns of, water rising and the 100-year flood, which seems to come every 2 years, these are important boards and commissions, and we need to have people that have experience in this position. And I think both people we plan to appoint tonight comes with that. So I'm really looking forward to see Jack serve on that board, just because of his background, and certainly from a business side, but also from the emergency management side and the fire department. So it seems like this will be a slam dunk, but congratulations, Jack, and thanks for putting your hat in. We know retirement's, you're sitting there retiring, and it's always nice to come back and give a little back to the city. So I will entertain on Councilor Simonelli's motion, seconded by Jay Dean, Sika, a couple people seconded, to confirm the appointment of Jack Colangelo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, unanimous. Congratulations. Next order of business.
Paper 494-22, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom is referred paper number 403-22, having considered the same, make the following report, that the paper reported out favorable to the full City Council as amended, and if I could just read the paper as amended, be it hereby ordained by the Malden City Council, the Code of City of Malden, MCC 7.20.010A12, be hereby amended by striking from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday, and replaced with the hours established by the Stadium and Athletic Commission.
Same hours as Trafton unless the Stadium Commission Athletic. Just make sure.
This was the amendment.
No.
Oh, you got the amended one? I'm sorry, I read that. So that, Council Winslow, we're all set with the amendment. Any words? I just want to make sure.
Hang
before
on, why don't we receive the committee report
Oh, I'm
first?
sorry. Okay.
It's late.
Now she's on a power trip. Council, on Council Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Council Crow for the committee report. I apologize.
And I will defer to Councilor Winslow. And like I said, last week, we did really have a good Rules and Ordinance Committee and conversation around this
I'm sorry, I didn't see
particular topic, and that because, you know, the tractor park that had sort of different hours than others, and certain parks had lots of different hours, and it kind of brought it to light that we really need to empower the Stadium and Athletic Commission to sort of set those so they can be more uniform, or at least have some background in why they are maybe lighted or not. So, but I will defer to Councilor Winslow for the paper.
Council Winslow.
Yeah, no, this has come up, occasionally in Ward 6 where, in relation to the dog park, what the hours are, and realizing that maybe people's expectations of what the hours are different in the dog park than the park, and it just seemed the most straightforward way to go forward is to just defer to the Stadium and Athletic Commission that has responsibility for setting hours in our parks rather than having it in the ordinance. So that basically the language is that, it'll be the hours, we'll delete the specific hours in the ordinance and just it'll be the hours established by the Stadium and Athletic Commission. And, I'll be working with them to come up with some hours, and we'll invite people that are, the neighborhood and the Friends of the Trafton Dog Park to help establish those hours. I think the dog park's been there, well over 5 years now, and I think it's just good. Because we're about to redo the park, and I've been requested to put up some clarifying signs that, I just want to make sure we have the right hours and don't put up a sign and immediately create a controversy. I'd rather deal with it up front and then put up the sign. So that's just really trying to work it through that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Winslow. I believe Councilor Murphy, your light is on, or is it still on from the previous one? Okay. Any questions for, and I read the wrong one, so let me just read this, Council McDonald. I see your hand. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I saw you. I apologize.
Sorry, just a quick question. I remember my first council meeting, we removed the unique Trafton Dog Park dog license, which had been previously required, yet never issued to a single dog. And with these, to say you can't walk your dog before 10 a.m. on Sunday seems wild to me. Is there a specific set of concerns that was created around the Trafton Dog Park that is driving such previously draconian measures about I'm just confused about why this has all been
I have to say, I abut the dog park myself, and, it was established without really having neighborhood input. So, people on the council at the time might know. I think there was concern that, people being out there too early or whatever. So I think it was a way to set some rules for the dog park to kind of appease some neighbors. But I feel at this point, people are, I see people like as early as 7, and there is lighting now in the dog park, and especially this time of year. If you have a dog and have a routine, having dusk to dawn doesn't really work because your dog has an hourly routine. So I think that's the type of thing to try to set some things that, and that's why I think having the Stadium Commission deal with it, it can be dealt with by the neighborhood, by the ward council, rather than having to come up and bring this all the time to the council or whatever. We can just deal with it at that level, and that's my plan, so
Thank you, that's all.
No, it was a good discussion. We talked about just general, I believe there are certain parks that have hours. There used to be signs, dusk to dawn. I don't think anybody's enforced them in a long time. That was one of the things we talked about, but the Councilwoman's point, let's have a kind of a standard, whether it's a dog park or a regular park, if there are rules of engagement, let's have a standard across that. So, there is an amended one, which I will read because I read the wrong one, but be here and ordain the Malden City Council and that the code of the City of Malden 7-20-010A 12 is hereby amended by striking from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 10 a.m. Did you read this one? To 8 p.m.? Listen, I'm losing it. On Sunday and replace with hours established by the Stadium Athletic Commission. I was reading the other one. I just want to make sure we're getting the record.
Motion to enroll.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Motion to ordain.
On Councilor Crow's motion to ordain as amended.
As amended.
Enrolled?
Enroll as amended.
Yeah, and
Oh, it's
Enroll
enrolled.
as amended.
It's enrolled
That's
as,
enrolled first.
as amended, seconded by Councilor Winslow. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed. Next order of business.
Docket is clear.
Docket is clear.
Personal privilege, boy.
Motion to, Council Crowe?
Yes, I actually make a motion to take papers.
Councilor
to-
Crowe,
Oops.
really quickly. Can I interrupt her really quick?
It's up to you, it's up to her.
Before you make that motion, it's 10:30. Do you think that we should not make that motion that you're about to make
Right.
and leave them on the table?
Well, I don't agree, but it's up to the council. I do think that we've had been.
We could be here till
busy.
1 in the morning with this topic.
And that's fine, but we've been saying we need to move these on, we need to find a solution. We said 2 weeks ago, I know that there's other things that came up, that we would take them off the table tonight. That was what I had said, so I'm fine if we don't. I think,
Never know.
I'm fine.
But it definitely is.
Okay.
Any discussion? Okay.
No, I'm just gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry, Council.
Greg, the lights aren't working.
I know,
properly,
and all the
so-
lights are on. I apologize. Everybody's lights on right now, so it's chaos and mutiny up here right now. Councilor Linehan.
Is anybody else waiting to go ahead of me? I just wanted to speak.
Your light was first, so that's fine.
Okay,
Then
so
Councilor Simili.
I wanted to speak as the sponsor of one of the papers that's implicated here. I do think it's late. I don't want us to be here all night, and I don't want us to have a tired, unproductive discussion. I want to acknowledge that members of the community have been waiting for us to have this and have been here all night, and we got, certainly a lot of unexpected letters that I think people are not wanting us to delay this a lot, but at the same time, it's 10:30 at night. So I'm not my best self at this hour, and I don't want us to regret discussing this at a late hour. I know we've contemplated in our rules putting in a new section that would
Yes.
limit discussion after a certain hour, because I think we've seen how things sometimes go at this time of night. So as the sponsor of one of the papers here, I want to just put that out there, that I'm willing to not have it tonight, but I do want to make sure that we get it on the next docket, because this has really gone on a very unreasonably long time.
Okay, hold on, we got a bunch of lights. Councilor Simonelli.
I just want a personal privilege. I have nothing to discuss on this topic.
All right, your tree lighting ceremony can wait 1 minute. Councilor Karen Cologne Hayes.
I was going to say I'm willing to stay here. I think that we have shown by earlier today that doesn't really matter what time it is. We could still blow up as a city council. So I would be willing to stay here and get this done. It's been waiting for so long, but I will also go along with the rest of the city council.
I think it's me.
Hold on, we got lights. Councilor O'Malley, then Councilor Seeker.
I just want to say from a practical perspective that I don't think either anyone has the votes to do anything for a zoning ordinance that requires 8 votes. So we would be having a very long, unproductive conversation, and it would result in no change.
Tic-tac-toe.
So I do think that it's best that we reserve this for another meeting. Maybe we take it from the table at the beginning of a meeting and have an earnest conversation, knowing that we're coming into it kind of at a draw. And that should really be the expectation of the community as well as the council.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Seeker.
Thank you. I was just going to say the same thing as Councilor Linehan. I am the sponsor of the other paper, so I just want to ask Michelle Romero really quickly. Do we have dates on these?
February.
February? Oh, plenty of time. Okay. None of these are life-threatening.
Yeah, just.
It's 10:30.
Yep.
My cough's going to start getting crazy. I'm sure plenty of people are exhausted.
We haven't untabled it
We
yet,
do
so
have
just-
day jobs,
yep.
so.
May I now?
Hold on.
Councilor Murphy.
Council Murphy.
May I make a suggestion that what we do is, although it's not our normal practice, I would say that we put this on next Tuesday, the committee of the whole, and we can have it televised. It'll be the only thing on the docket, and it will give us time to discuss it, because we're going to be coming,
It's not a regular council meeting, though.
No, I know, but we still can. We can suspend the rule, huh?
We could.
I'm just saying, if, you know, if we want to have a discussion, and we don't want it to, you know, clutter other things, because we are coming at the end of
Yeah, I
the
agree, I
session,
agree. So I'm just
and we're gonna have
I'm
a
letting the
break.
clerk think.
Well, you'd have to suspend them, you could be unheard. It's like on a committee night, having table papers on a committee night.
We could suspend the rules now to do it. Full disclosure, I cannot attend, but I do think you should do this. Y'all know where I am at on this, but I do think you should have that conversation
Well, I
next
think we
week.
should all be here for this, though. I think this is an important topic.
Well, it's up to the
all
committee. If we want to
possible.
do that, we got to do it now, because we can't suspend rules the same night and then take it out. To the
I think
clerk's
just in
point.
case we should, and if y'all want to go forward with it, I think you should at least start the conversation.
We have till February.
All right, yeah, we have till February, all right.
And if the.
If somebody wants to make a motion, we can make a
No,
motion
sorry.
to make the
That's all
votes,
right.
and if not, it goes up, it goes down, we meet, whatever.
We'll wait. It
Councilor
was just a
Spatafor.
thought.
No, that's fine. There's no motion, right? Counselor?
No, I wasn't gonna make a motion, but one of these is dependent on the other not moving forward and vice versa. If Councilor Sika's paper moves forward, effectively the other one is moot. So I think we should be taking these up sequentially, and we should be doing it as soon as possible. I'm open to doing it next week. I understand that you can't be here, but I do think that this is really, we've delayed this a lot, and I'm feeling very frustrated. I know we've done all that we can, but it is getting to be the end of the year, and we are actually running out of time. Even though the literal clock doesn't stop on these legally until February, we've been working on this all year. Yeah, the psychological clock.
Yeah, there's three sections to the planning board's recommendation. Yeah, yep. There's three sections that the planning board made recommendations on. Section 12.12-190.a. Yeah, it's close.
But you can just say that there's other.
Yeah, there's other items on the docket. So if somebody wants to make a motion, because we'd have to suspend docket rules now. Well, we'd have to, we can't, go ahead a minute. Council
For
City.
zoning, for ordinance changes where we need a supermajority, if we are missing somebody, does that affect our ability to move forward?
It goes down.
Does it go down
Yeah, so the 8 goes to 7.
to 7?
Yeah.
Rather just wait? Okay, yeah, then I
Can we just get a legal opinion or experience? You got, I know.
It's of the full council, I don't think it goes down. I think you still need the 8. We had to call.
I think you should just wait.
I don't think so either. Michelle, can you just give us some insight on the
Yes.
practicality?
Good
So the question
evening.
is, majority, if the majority is based on 11 sitting councils, which would be 8, right?
It's 8. It's 7, it goes down to 7. When you.
I don't think it does. Do you understand the question?
I believe it's a supermajority that you need.
I'm sorry, supermajority,
Which
yes.
is why when it was 9 last time, you only needed the 6. Was it 6? No, you needed the 7. You needed, right, it's always the 2/3, I thought. But
Of the
Greg,
s-
the city clerk would, no,
Of the
that's a city council rule.
put
But
your
I
mic
will
on,
say the
Clark.
2 papers are separate. I just want to correct that for the record. 286 in 315, they're 2 papers, but one doesn't become moot if one passes. They're completely separate. They both can be ordained. One can be ordained, one can be not ordained. They're not connected in that sense.
Oh, so the question is, if there's 10 councils next week, the majority to pass will be 7.
Be 7.
Yep, make a motion.
Well, if somebody puts a vote in, we can,
I'll make a motion to have the meeting next meeting, not next week, The next council meeting.
The next full
Next
meeting?
full
Yeah.
meeting.
No, that would be normal, Council.
Could I have a?
Council,
maybe-
Council Winslow?
Maybe what we should do is make a motion to for the next full meeting to suspend the rules and have, related to order of business, so that we can have table papers taken up sooner in the agenda. I mean, that's, in our rules, table papers come at the end. So we could suspend the rules now to say table papers will come, sixth in the agenda at the next full meeting for this. So that way we could take it up sooner, like Councilor Murphy's suggesting.
But can't we do that? Can't we do that anyways?
You can take things out of
We can take things out of order.
Okay, if we just want to resolve it tonight. just-
But we're talking about 2 weeks from now, right?
2 weeks from now,
Yeah, so I think we
next
can do
full
that
council
anyway.
meeting,
So,
yes.
right now, if we do nothing, if we don't take it off the table, these papers will move to 2 weeks, which is our normal, meeting time, next week's committees. And then we can take them off the table however we want. We take things out of order all the time. We can vote to do that, move it up to the front and hear it for that. We are gonna have to meet on the tax. We're gonna have to get those signatures sooner. We might have to do that next week, actually. Yeah, we're gonna find out. I sent an email to Mr. Rannigan. He's concerned, but he thinks he might be able to get a 1 week. So, and we got maybe a couple people presenting too, but we will take this one up first, if that's the will of the council.
I don't know, man.
Council Simonelli, he's waiting for something else. Council Linehan, you're all set. Council Winslow, you're all set?
Yeah, I just didn't know if we
Yep.
just wanted to handle that table, the motion to suspend the rules and just do it, so we don't have to do it next time?
Well, I think we all agree that that's what
Okay.
we're going to do, so then,
Okay,
that in
all right.
2 weeks, we will do that.
We will do that, all right, thank you. All right.
Hold on, everybody. Councilor O'Malley, you want to speak? Let me just turn your mic on, just so I can hear.
Do you want to speak, or do you want me to?
Could you?
So Councilor O'Malley is not going to be available the next 2 Tuesdays. So we would only be able to do the 20th or the 27th?
So,
Can't
so
do it on the
I can be here, just full disclosure, the next morning, like really early morning, I have finals.
So we can
to
take
be
it off
here
the
late
table at
night
the beginning.
We can take it first.
We could take it off the table, the beginning of the meeting for you. You could come, we could do that, and then you can leave. How's that?
On the 13th, we're saying?
Which one would you prefer?
I mean, I would prefer the 20th if possible, but I understand.
It's up to you. Are the last
Are you
three
gonna leave
meetings- Oh,
early?
we're not here.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, you can leave, I mean, you can leave, you can do
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, I would prefer not to have that type of discussion like the day before.
I get it, that's my point. So you prefer the 20th?
I prefer the 20th, to be honest with you.
It's up to the council. I really don't have a precedent, to be honest.
I understand it's kicking the can, but there really is nothing that is preventing us from waiting for this at this moment. There really isn't.
Well, the good thing is it doesn't seem we're gonna take it off the table tonight, so we can just move forward. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Right? And then we can talk next week about strategy. Fair?
Okay, personal privilege?
Oh, yeah, Council Simonelli's been waiting very patiently. Now for personal privilege. Council Simonelli, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you so much. If everybody's still awake out there, I just wanted to invite everybody down to the
I don't know if we keep these.
Lincoln Commons tree lighting ceremony down at Lincoln Commons, December 3rd. Thank you. December 3rd. It's a Saturday, this Saturday coming at 6 o'clock. A lot of hard work went into this. We're going to have obviously the tree lighting. We're going to have some hot chocolate with some cookies for the kids. The kids can make their own ornaments and put their name on it. And they can put it on the tree for themselves or a loved one, almost like a new traditional wish type of tree that we're going to put there. And like I said, a lot of work went into this. The DPW, the mayor's office, the inspectional services, public facilities. I've had everybody down there putting lights up at some point or another down there. So it's spectacular. They kind of did a little dry run the other night, just so we know that everything is working. And I'll tell you, Mike's Landscaping has done a lot of work down there, and I'll tell you, it was something to see. They did a really good job down there. So, the entire city is welcome to come down. We invite everybody down in Ward 7 to come down and say hi. It's a busy time of year. We're coming off of the whole COVID thing, and it's a good time to, spread some holiday cheer and some goodwill towards your fellow neighbor. and come on down and say hello and have a good time. So everybody's invited. That's, again, this Saturday, December 3rd, 6 o'clock at Lincoln Commons. And local 25 Teamsters will be down there with their big rig, 80-foot trailer or whatever it is that they have down there to open up, so we can have Santa Claus out there making a special appearance to say hello. So we got a few giveaways to do down there as well. So again, I'd like to all my colleagues, come on down there, bring your families, say hello. We're looking for a good time. Thank you very much for your cooperation. I think we're all tongue-tied.
Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, a few things for Ward 6. The Friends of Trafton Dog Park are on Sunday, December 11th. They're having a Santa Paws event from 1 to 2. So for you can bring down your dogs and enjoy that. There'll be treats and other type of things. And then on Monday, December 12th, the Malden Teen Enrichment Center is having its fundraiser at Anthony's. So encourage everybody to come out for that. Thank you. Great.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. And yes, I'm just going to piggyback off Councilor Winslow. The Malden Teen Enrichment Center is having their 10th annual fundraiser, 10th anniversary fundraiser. We haven't had 10 fundraisers. December 12th, 6:30 to 8:30 at Anthony's. I have to say the menu is going to be absolutely delicious, handpicked by yours truly, copying some of the food that Councilor Spatafora had for his wife's 40th anniversary. But it's going to be a great night. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. Okay, it's bit.ly/MTech10. Tickets are $50.
You're going to have to repeat that again. What is it?
It's bit.ly/MTech10. They're $50, and it's an opportunity to really help our children, the kids at the high school. All of our high schools can attend Malden Teen Enrichment Center. There's going to be lots of sponsorships in all different price ranges from $25 on up to help send kids to go snowshoeing, an overnight camp, team building, go to the theater or the orchestra, etc. So there's a lot going on. It's an investment in our children. We really need you to come out and support the Malden Teen Enrichment Center. They do great work with our students. Once again, it's Monday, 12/12. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. You can also call me or call Kathy McMullen. Once again, it's bit.ly/MTech10.
Are they on the website?
It's,
You've got to capitalize MTEC.
yeah, you got to capitalize MTEC. You do, yes. Yes, you do. Sorry, I should have said that.
Oh, that's why it didn't come up for me. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing is, just following on Councilor Simonelli, Santa Claus will be making his 73rd trip to his headquarters at Pine Banks Park on Saturday, December 17th from 2 to 6 p.m. There will be hot chocolate and cookies by the Ward 5 elves, and there will also be keepsake photographs that will be taken with Santa. When your child gets to visit them, please bring their list of what they would like for Christmas. Kevin Benner and the staff at Pine Banks really always goes out of their way to make sure that Pine Banks is festively decorated, for the event, and we look forward to seeing everyone that day. Once again, Saturday, December 17th, 2 to 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Amanda Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, I just wanted to thank everybody that came down to Fellsmere Pond this past weekend. Councilor Spatafora and the mayor and I co-hosted our annual tree lighting. I saw many of my colleagues there, and honestly, more members of the community than I think I have ever seen at the tree lighting. I feel like I say that every event this year. The turnout has just been so huge. People are clearly hungry for that connection after COVID, I think. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please take a drive, walk, or bike on by. It's beautiful. You can see it from all sides of the pond. It's lit up after dark every night, and it really is beautifying the neighborhood. So thanks to Councilor Spatafora for putting up the tree every year. And I also wanted to mention that this is the last week for anybody in the community who's looking to request help from the Merry Malden Toy Drive. The deadline to to request help is actually December 1st. We're also really, really looking for donors and sponsors. We're doing a great job matching people with households, but we do still need a few more to come in. Anybody who has stuff to donate, there is a drop box in the lobby of City Hall. That is going to be open whenever City Hall is open, so you can bring your donations by. And if you are in need of help, you want to email the Gmail address marymalden2022@gmail.com. And then if you visit the Zonta Malden website, you can find a direct link to donate money if you'd rather donate funds. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Councilor Carrie McDonald.
Thank you. Wanted to share two opportunities to get involved in climate action work in Malden. One is that our residents can join the Climate Action Plan Steering Committee. Particularly, we're looking for residents who can volunteer to serve as liaisons with community organizations to help expand the reach of those efforts. On the steering committee, you're not deciding what's in the plan, you're guiding the community outreach and the work with our consultants. So to be clear about that, there is a stipend and your organization also gets a donation. You can apply through December 12th. The second is we're looking for resident ambassadors for the Wicked Cool Mystic Project to help educate their neighbors and community members about urban heat island impacts. And there will be events about that. We saw in our hazard mitigation plan we just approved earlier today that rising temperatures is a big concern. This also comes with a stipend, and applications are open through December 31st. And these are both part of our Green Malden project, run through our OSPCD, that's how you say the acronym, and our Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development, and you can find those links on the Malden website or on the city's Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. From the chair, you want to go, Council? Well, I'll do mine now. From the chair, I do want a lot of giving opportunities this year in Malden. As always, Malden Kiwanis is having their holiday toy drive. Collection boxes for the Kiwanis toy drive can be requested up till December 2nd. If you call the email info@maldenchamber.org if you want to host a box, and they'll be collecting them up until the 17th of December. Also, I want to thank some of my fellow councils. Councilor McDonald was there. I saw Councilor O'Malley and certainly Councilor Crowe at this year's Bread of Life dinner. Myself, the mayor, Mary Louise, we took, I don't want to say control, but we were asked to take over for somebody who no longer did the logistics for delivering the mails. There was over 950 mails given out this year. Councilor McDonald came in and saved us because we had some last minute. Yep, at a last minute, we had 5 mails come in the day of Thanksgiving. So truly a city effort. I know people were there the night before donating turkeys and cutting them up and donating food and money. But 1,000 meals, unfortunately, that's not a record we want to see happen. But it's a reality of just what's going on in the world, certainly with food inflation and the cost of just everyday living. So congratulations to all. Hopefully everybody had their meal delivered. We didn't get any callbacks. They'll be doing it again for Christmas dinner, so I'll be asking for volunteers again. But a great organization, and I'm proud to help out any way I can. But it's just a staggering number. I thought it was an error when we ran the report. 1,000 people, we just deliveries. And then I think another 300 plus were at dinner there. So great work that way. And just coming off Councilor Linehan's comments, certainly I think we had a record turnout this year. The weather helped with the tree. I will apologize for the technical difficulties. We had trouble getting the music up and running. I got there a little late. I had to update the firmware. It was a little bit of a nightmare. I apologize in advance. But next year, we've already talked about having some new flavors added, some live music. So we're already putting our thinking caps together and maybe making next year even bigger and certainly a little bit more diverse in terms of music selection and music type. So with that said, okay. With that said, I will take Councilor O'Malley's motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor McDonald. All in favor? All opposed? Motion, meeting is adjourned.